you send them back to me. So that's basically what it is. I'm gonna give you few days for you to answer the test, and you send it back to me via email, the way that I've been sending you all the materials. So that's basically what it is. For the module that just finished, I have not sent you the exam for law and ethics. I will be doing it later on. I was very, very busy doing something else. So I need to correct some of the questions because I have tests from different classes, but I want to do it a little different. So for that reason, I didn't send it to you, but I'm going to send it today. And you're going to have until Sunday to return that exam. So no worries, it's not going to be too many questions like the other ones, maybe 30, 35 questions the most. So you're going to have plenty of time to answer that exam. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with the management or managing the office medical records. So this is medical records management, is the same thing. So let's see what is it that we are going to discuss during this particular chapter. We're going to describe what is the equipment, the supplies needed to complete, to create a medical records. So that's basically what it is. So we're going to talk about that. Very simple. Now, once again, probably you are not going to be encounter this anymore because 99% of the medical offices, which are the ones that always are late in updating, whatever you have to do, because, electronic medical records, this equipment, the system, uh, costs a lot of money. So therefore, they have plenty of time because this has been going on for many years already. So they should already have medical records in place. So it's going to be a little difficult for you to encounter all these paper-based medical records. You will, because some of the medical records that were not transferred to electronic files, they still keep them if they still have the patient, but not using it anymore. But you will be able to see them in an office. And most of you probably have experienced this because whenever we go to the doctor's office, we see all these shelves on the wall with all these medical records or charts or the history of the patient that is recorded there. So we are familiar with these medical records. It's just that we don't know what is within, what contains, how it's done, how all this information is arranged within that particular file. And we're going to know how is it. We're going to list the various types of filing systems once again, whether it's an office, whether you don't have too many patients, whether you are in a hospital, which methods or types of filing works best for them. So that's basically what it is. Now, I'm not expecting that you should know this by now. You're going to be learning this. And this is mostly for exam purposes because they still are asking questions about how do you file medical records using papers, just the old fashioned. But you're also going to have those questions about electronic medical records or electronic health records. So we're going to discuss all those terms because you need to understand them when you encounter them for an exam. So that's basically what it is. We're going to talk about the benefits of each type of system that the doctors uses to file those medical records. Why did they do it? So it's like, why you go to this supermarket, not go to that one. So that's the same. It might be because it's close to you. It might be because you find all the things that you want to buy, or because it's cheaper, right? You have options with paper-based medical records, particularly talking about these types of filing systems. Also, the medical professionals, they find, that one method works better than others. Like you are going from your home to your workplace. Well, you have options. How are you going to get there? Well, there are options that are kind of not feasible. Walking, well, unless you walk 3, 4, 5 blocks, that will be fine, right? But if you have to walk 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles to go, I don't think so that you're gonna walk. By bicycle, ride, by car, by bus, train, public transportation, taxi. So you decide what is your best option. Depends on where you are located. Depends on the availability of transportation. I live in an area where I have 5 or 6 routes of trains. I have buses. I don't take the bus. I don't drive around. I have a car, but I don't drive, particularly when I have to go to Manhattan. Or even though if I have to go to the Queens campus, usually I do not drive because there's a lot of problems with traffic, with parking. Oh no. So you see, we have options. Well, medical practice also have options. Why do they use this type of filing instead of that one? Each one has their own reasons. Depends on what practice they are running. So we're gonna know all that. We're gonna discuss the advantage of these filing systems, particularly when we talk about alphabetic, numeric, alphanumeric, and color coding files. We have different options once again, and which one works better for this practice or that practice. It depends of the amount of patients that they have in that office and the amount of space. Remember, if you have all these cabinets, all these shelves, and if you don't have enough space, which one you gonna get? So once again, we're just gonna go through that, just giving you here a little overview of what's in with this chapter. We're gonna also explain, or we're gonna go over the tickler files. What's a tickler file? Well, we're gonna learn because this is gonna be a question for your exam. So I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna cover this and I'm gonna remind you because you need to know what's gonna be on your national exam. Do not worry about my exam. Of course, my exam, because I'm gonna give it to you, so you're just gonna answer it at home. It's a take-home test. Worry about the national certification, but yes, you should pay attention to the questions that I send you because most of those questions are the ones that are gonna come out on national exam. So every single time that I cover a class, for those who are new in this program with me, I'm gonna be telling you, this is important, this is gonna be on your exam, so I want you to keep it, to write it down, to put a note, something, somewhere in your files, in your lectures. That's what I did when I was going to school. Unfortunately, my teacher never told me this is gonna be on your exam, but he was or she was repeating those certain topics. They were repeating it over and over and over, certain statements. I said, you know what? This is important. If they say it so many times, it's because it's important. And then when I started taking their test, I said, oh, I knew this was going to be on the test. And that's the technique that I've been applying all the time when I'm taking a test, when I'm doing something, because I know it is important. But I'm going to mention it to you so you can get kind of the hang of it, of, understanding how this works. Remember, the lectures are very, very long. And there are many modules during this program. How are you going to remember every single word? That's impossible. Nobody good. So for that reason, I give you some hints, some cues, how to take exams. how to take notes. So you just get the essence of the chapter, not everything. You have all the information there, but not everything is going to be asked. So that's what I'm actually helping you out with. So we're going to talk about the steps that you're going to follow for filing the medical records. There are certain steps. It's like when you apply for the school, when you apply for a job. Well, the first thing that you do is you look for, who is hiring, right? And then if you meet the requirements for the position, you're gonna send your resume, you're gonna call them, you're gonna contact them, and then you're gonna go for an interview, and so on and so forth. Well, the same here. If we're gonna create a medical records, we have to start from the beginning, from scratch. So what is it that we need? So that's basically what we're gonna follow all the steps from the bottom all the way to the top. Explain the steps to take in trying to locate a misplaced file. Well, the reason that we use all these filing systems methods is because we are going to prevent misplacing it. Now, misplacing it within the shelves is one thing. Misplacing it outside this place, the cabinets or the wall shelves, when we keep these medical records, it's a different issue. We need to know where did this medical record go, who took it, and how are we gonna know that this medical record was removed from those files? Who has it? Remember, if you're using paper-based medical records, the patient comes in, we have to remove those files from the shelves, from the cabinets, whichever storage or filing systems your medical has. And then the medical doctor is going to receive the medical record, but this medical record has to go back to the shelves, to the same place. How do we know that it's going to the same place? Because we have these filing systems that we are going to be using, alphabetic, numeric, and color code. So that's the reason why. Now, same way that we have all these systems in place, we're going to place something in the replace of the file that we're going to take from those files. So that's basically what it is. So we're also going to be talking about when a medical record is supposed to be removed from the shelves, from the active files, and make it inactive. Or when are we going to close this medical record? So we have criteria for that, time frames, because that's called statute of limitation. And this will be a very important thing for you to know for your exam, for your national certification. So I will be covering the things that you need to do in your workplace if you encounter this situation, or at least that you're going to pass the national exam. Because usually we are very concerned, say the least, that with the exam all the time. We are always concerned with that. See, when I was going to school, I know that I was learning a lot, but that was not it. The problem was like, well, when they test me, am I going to show the same results? I'm going to show the same attitude that I have, positive attitude that I'm learning a lot, but the questions are going to be a little different. How is that going to be? So when I'm telling you something that is going to be asked, you better believe that it's going to be that way. So it's not going to be no surprises. You just take notes once again, and you will be fine. So let's start with your job description as a medical assistant. Because it said right there, medical assistant role. Role doing what? With the management of medical records, of course. So what is it that you are supposed to be doing? You are going to be handling lots of documents that you might be writing notes on those documents that are going to be placed inside the medical records. You're going to be handling the medical records. Whether you're going to do something with it, you're going to add something, you're going to do a procedure, or because the doctor needed it, so you have to remove from the shelves and give it to the medical doctor or to the medical provider that it has requested. So you need to know exactly what steps to follow. And then you have to take the medical records from the doctor and put it back to the shelves in the right place so you don't misplace it. So you don't leave it unattended. So we're going to talk about all that. Now, I mentioned this before. When you start working in a medical doctor's office, remember, in a small practice, you're going to be doing two things. You're going to be doing the clinical, the clerical part. The clerical part is the administrative part. Remember, once again, because these are questions for exam, your practice, whether it's a doctor's office, whether it's a hospital, they have the front desk and they have the back. Well, the front is where all this paperwork takes place. That's the clerical tasks that you will be doing if you work with the doctor's office. If you work in a hospital, remember the hospital hired special people to do the administrative work. So it won't be a medical assistant. You will not be in charge of calling patients, scheduling patients, doing referrals, verifying insurance coverage, taking the patient's information, registration, none of those. You will be in the back, just doing the clinical part. You're going to be doing vital signs. You're going to be doing the measurements. You're going to be doing EKGs. You're going to be drawing blood, collecting urine, and whatever other clinical tasks that hospital where you are working is asking you to do it as a medical assistant. That's basically what it is. So we're always going to divide the office in between front and back. Front, administrative, clerical duties, back, the clinical part. In the clinical part, you're going to assist the doctor doing certain procedures or translating, whatever the case may be that is involved with the patients, but in the back. So that's basically how it is. So dealing with these medical records is very important because medical records are the most important documents because these are legal documents. Why do we call legal? Because in case that the medical doctor, the hospital get sued, these are the medical records, the ones that we are going to present. These are the first thing that they're gonna ask for it. When a patient, corporation, whatever the case may be, sues the hospital, the medical doctor, the first thing that the court requires is the medical records. Why? Because there it is where all the information about the patient, conditions, evaluations, tests, whatever the laboratory results, tests have been ordered, what medication the patient is taking, for how long the patient is taking, everything related to the patient medical care will be written right there in that medical records. So we need to have accurate information, up-to-date information. So all the papers from every day's visit from our patients needs to be filed right there within the medical records the same day. It's not leaving papers somewhere loose that we can, it can be displays. So we have to put them together. So that is medical record management, how we are going to manage all this information that we collect from our patient from the day that the patient registers as a new patient until the day that the patient no longer is coming to our office. So we're going to walk you through to all those steps because it's very important that you understand that. So that's basically what it is. Every single organization, small, medium size, large size, needs to have medical record management, whether it's paper-based and electronic or a combination of both. So that's basically what you as medical assistant are going to be, exposed to it. So every single person that works in the medical field, they're going to be exposed to these medical records, but some of you are going to be directly involved with the medical records versus other people that might have other jobs to do. But that's basically what we're going to start doing. So I already told you what is the importance of medical records. And most importantly, what is the importance of having management? How do we are going to manage these medical records? Remember, manage is how we are going to keep everything together for each patient that is accessible whenever you need it. Can you imagine I need a medical patient comes to see me and I ask you, okay, bring me the patient medical records and the files that are supposed to be in there are not there. They are somewhere else because someone did not file those papers, particularly labs. Remember, when the patient comes to our office, 99% of the time, at least they order blood or urine to be collected. I said 99% of the time, never, it's never 100%. Some of the times you've been ordered something, sometimes you've not been ordered anything. Depends on what is the reason that you come into the office. So, but usually as a routine, we order at least blood. So those results, we need to receive it from the lab, and then we receive it by mail, by fax. So if we don't have a electronic health records, that we're going to get these electronic health records directly sent to the patient's portal or the patient's medical records that we have on file in our database, then we have to manually process them because we are talking about paper-based. So if you don't have those results or the referral or an official reading from a specialist that we send for tests, and now we have the results. And if we don't put the results right on the file of the patient the day that the patient comes to see us, so what is the purpose then? So all that information has to be placed the moment that you receive it, immediately you pass it to the medical doctor. The doctor read it, evaluate it, sign it, and give you the okay for you to file. Remember, papers that we receive by mail from laboratory, other doctors, anything related to the patient, we should not file directly into the medical records. We open the envelopes and we give this correspondence to the medical doctor that is in charge of that patient. They have to review it, whether they are positive, whether there are negative results, whether the patient is at the risk of something, is in a serious condition or not. We have to give those papers to them. And then they're going to review it, they're going to sign it. And when they sign it, they're going to put it in a basket or in a place when they're going to say, okay, you can file this. So it says, to be filed, to be reviewed. So you're going to put it in those baskets and in the office, and whoever needs to go there and take those papers, but we need to put it there. So that's basically how it works. So in an office, it's like we have like a mail box for the doctor, for the nurses. So whenever something comes for the medical doctors, we're going to put it in their box that is for the particular doctor. Incoming mail. Incoming correspondence. So the medical doctor is going to be checking that. It's like when we are at home and we open our mailbox to check if we have something in there. Because that's our email box or mailbox. So for the medical doctors, we have like a bin, like a basket when you have the incoming, and then when the doctor reviews that, they're gonna put it in the file to be filed basket, and that's where you go there, pick them up, put it back in the files of each patient where they belong. So that's basically what it is. Now, medical records, you can call it different names. We call it a chart. The patient's history. So we call it the health records, the medical records, the chart, the patient's history. So again, you got to get used to all these names because you don't know what name they're going to use or they are going to be more accustomed to use when you're in the workplace. But when you hear about all these terms, as soon as the medical doctor says, oh, can you bring me the health record from this patient? The other was going to ask you, okay, you can bring me the medical record from the patient. The other one is going to say, oh, can you bring me the chart from the patient? Can you bring me for the medical files from the patient? Means the same. All these means the same. Remember, this is a written account of patient's health history. Everything that we collect, anyone who is in the office that have access to document something in the medical record, all that information is going to be there available. But it's for that particular patient, we need to store that information, we need to file that information in that particular chart. Now, everything that the medical orders from examinations, from tests, from procedures, medications, the patient's history, the patient's family history, the patient's social history, the reason why the patient is here today, the patient miss appointments, cancel appointments, all that is going to be there. All that information is going to be there. So it's very important because this is what we use to continue the patient's care, not only for the medical doctor that's seeing the patient, but for the other providers that might have to see the patient or information that is contained with the patient medical records that can be sent it to someone else to read it and to follow up with the patient because it facilitates communication with the patient. Can you imagine that you've been referred to a cardiologist and your primary doctor has your information? Now you go to the cardiologist, but the cardiologist don't have any information about you. Do you know how long is the cardiologist going to take asking you questions but never get the results that they expect? Okay, tell me, Mr. Mrs. Brown. Tell me about your social history. I will never finish with you. Tell me about, what medication you taking? What medication you were taking like 10 years ago? What conditions did you have 10 years ago, 5 years ago? I don't even know what I did yesterday. How is the patient going to remember that? How the patient know what diagnosis they have, what tests they have? The doctor neither. The only time that I recall who you are is when I see your files. And that's what we need, your medical records. Because I'm going to go over and see it. It's like you taking these classes. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, it was an accident.
Oh, okay, no problem. It's like you see, I send you this PowerPoint presentation. Now you are going to, you're not gonna memorize all this. You're gonna use this as a reference. So next time that you need some information, particularly at the end of this module that you receive the test that I'm gonna send you, you're gonna go back to this because you don't remember every single thing. How are we gonna remember every single thing about every single patient that we see? Now, this new doctor that is going to see you, how they going to know about you? Unless I bring your information, the information that your medical doctor have on file, now I will be familiar what's going on with you. Now I'm going to start from there, not from zero. So that's what is important about the medical records, because we have all the history of the patient, medical situations, social situations, family issues. We're talking about medical conditions about family. Because remember, if it runs in the family, we are at the risk of developing conditions that goes with our family. So that's what the medical record is all about, having all your information. But this information needs to be documented, not only because it's a legal document, just in case we get sued, but this is how we do our everyday evaluations, follow-ups, diagnosis with our patients. I'm not gonna remember I saw you like 3 months ago, and now you come here and okay, so tell me, what are you here today? Oh, remember that I was here like 3 months ago. Probably remember your face, that if I'm lucky enough. I'm not gonna remember anything about you, but I have the the medical record, the chart. I open it up and said, before I see you, I have my record. I said, oh, my patient comes today because I already have, they are already scheduled. I have my records already. I review, I have an idea. I just glance around, scan about your medical records. So when you come in, I know who you are because I have the information there. So it is very important that we have accurate information and that all that information is within that medical records for each patient. So that's basically what it is. So when we talk about records management system or the medical record management, we're talking about how do we create the medical record? How do we file all these documents that are individual documents that we use in the office, and then we add it to that file? How do we do that? Where do we place them? We just stack them in any order, or do we have a special order for it? We have types of arrangements for those medical records. So we know that if I need the diagnosis for my patient, I know where to go. If I need a laboratory from this particular date, I know where to go. If I need a CAT scan, MRI, sonogram, blood results, X-rays, surgical procedure, I know exactly what part of the medical records I'm going to find that, because we are going to organize them like that. Think about, I'm going to put it very easy for you. Think about your apartment, your home. You know what is the kitchen, you know what is the bathroom. Why? Because we know. Because it is arranged that way. Because in this bathroom, we're going to encounter this. In the kitchen, we're going to encounter it. We have what is the living room, what is the dining room, and everything else. So the same we're going to do with the medical records. We're going to be putting all these patients' information, arranging that in such a fashion that it's going to be easy for us to retrieve them. Think about this, because I know it happened to you and it has happened to me. It has happened to everyone. When you go to the store, they give you a receipt, right? And when we receive all these bills from internet, cable, electricity, maybe water if you pay that, your cellular phone services, your car insurance, you have all these bills, and every single time that you receive them, you put it right inside your drawer. Whenever you need something, it says, oh my God, I need this receipt because they're sending me a bill that I have not paid. I said, no. I'm pretty sure that I pay. Let me confirm, but I know that I pay. And I need the receipt because I know I have it. And then you're going to look inside that drawer. You have to throw every single thing that you have there. And sometimes you don't even find what you're looking for. Why? Because you do not keep this organized. You do not manage all your receipts. You do not. I used to be like that. Then I learned my lesson. Now, because I have electronic, I just place it on my electronic. I scan it, or I just download it from the website, from the portal, wherever I'm doing the payments from the bank, and I just put it there. But back in the days, I was looking for papers and I couldn't find it. And that's a waste of time, right? So that's what we do when we organize and we manage things. Because not only we are going to, save some time doing something, because this is not the only thing that we're going to do, but, for the health of our patients. Can you imagine missing some information from the patient? Now you don't have it, the doctor doesn't have it, nobody has it. What's going to happen now? We have to order again for the patient. So that's not good. So we have to keep everything organized in place. So every single time that the patient comes in, all the patient's information, whatever it was collected, every single document is going to be filed within that medical chart, that medical record. That's how it works. That's what it's called management. Any questions about what we just covered? This simple thing. I've been kind of being very detailed, explaining you, because that's the only way. Okay, that we can understand, because it's a lot of information here. Remember, whenever you have a question, just feel free to ask me. If I don't know the answer, I just tell you something. No, just kidding. I will never tell you something that I don't know about it. I will look for the answer and then I will give it to you. Let's talk about the filing equipment. Where are we? And then we're going to talk about the supplies, and then the types of filing, the methods of filing systems. So filing equipment. So how do we buy something to file? The cabinets, the shelves, or the wall shelves. How do we do that? Well, the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that we do have space. Think about furniture in your home. You're not going to buy too large furniture, too many pieces of furniture in a very tiny space, right? Whenever you have a large space, then you said, oh, wait a minute. I can fit something here. You can put this, a table. I can put this lamp. I can put this picture. I can put this or that, right? So we're always going to play around with space. It's important that. So place where the medical records are housed. So the first thing that we're going to do is, well, we're going to look for space. Which one is kind of suitable for our office? And not only that we have a space, but they're safe also. Remember, these medical records are supposed to be kept private, confidential. People should not have access to those. Someone who does not work in the medical office should not have access to those. And remember, those medical records are used in the office. Those medical records are not going anywhere. So the patient do not take the medical records with them. The medical doctor do not take the medical records with them. No one. The medical records stay within the office. So again, is determine what type of equipment you're going to use. So this filing equipment depends on the space that you have available in your office and the needs, what needs are. And sometimes what the owner of the practice or the management wants. See, when you're going to buy something in your home, it has to be something that you like. So for the offices, it's the same. Oh, this is comfortable. This is not too pricey, but you know what? It fits on that space. Let's get it. Same goes when we buy furniture. The first thing that you look is, well, we don't think about the price. The first thing that I look at is if I like it. But when I like the furniture, but I don't like the price, okay, my mind changes. Well, the same happens for the cabinets. What is more suitable for the office? Independently whether what is it that we want, right? Because it's not what we need, it's what we want. In this case, in the office, is what we need. So that's basically what it is. That's one of the difference between buying something personal versus, something that is used for your office. So it says right here, purchasing filing equipment. First, determine space availability. I mentioned that already. Then determine number of files to store. Yes, the size of my office. How many people I'm expecting to, register? How many patients do I want to have? Yes, we want to have as many patients as possible. But if I'm the only doctor, I cannot see more than 30 patients in a day in an 8-9 hour shift. And I'm talking about seeing patients that are follow-up only. If it is new patients that I'm going to be spending 45 minutes, 1 hour with them, how many patients I can have in 8 hours? Not even 10. Now, if I have 5 doctors working with me, another doctor, well, we split. So you need to know how, how many files you want to place in there. That's why we have mostly these shelves on the wall, because, well, the walls are kind of wide, very spacious. But if we're going to have cabinets, that's going to take more space. But the cabinets can be just placed in strategic places that are not taking too much space, but it's difficult to move them. So again, there are certain variables that we are going to be taking in consideration when we are going to purchase this. Now, one of the things that you shouldn't be worried about is you don't have to buy any of those because you're not opening the office is not yours. So when you start working, everything is already in place. So it's for you to get familiar with the type of equipment that's in an office. What if you get a job with a brand new doctor that just opened the office? It happens to me. I open an office, so we have to start from scratch, getting all these. So I was involved in all this already. So this is the first and most common type of filing equipment that we are going to encounter in our offices. If you see, you can see just the image right there. These are these shelvings that we place on the wall. And that's how we are going to store all these medical records. It is easy because they are right there. We can see it. It is easy to access them. When they're in cabinets, it's going to be a little difficult to open those drawers, start looking for those files. Here it's like more open. And they're right there next to the front desk, because most of the time they are behind the front desk or to the side. But the patients do not have access to that area because it's separated from all these desks that we separate, which is the waiting area and the place when we have all these medical records, because it has to be that way. No one else should have access to these medical records but the people that works there. So that's basically what it is. It's a lot easier to get access to them. So when you are storing these or filing these medical records in cabinets, sometimes two people cannot go there at the same time. Can you imagine you're trying to look in these cabinets and draw the lower one, the middle one, the upper one, and someone wants to do it? They cannot open the drawer when you're using the cabinet. So it's very, it is a lot easier, so to speak, just to get access to these medical records. But once again, all depends of your office and how they keep these medical records. So here are these filing cabinets that I mentioned before. So all depends on what your office has. And some of the time we have both, because we did have cabinets and we did have the open shelving on the wall. So yeah, so that's basically what it is. It doesn't matter what type of furniture, what it's made of. The most important thing is that we're going to keep these medical records secure, meaning that people from the outside is not going to have access to it. So that's basically what it is. These are the revolving circular files. I work in places when they have this because they don't have spaces. You can use the front, the back, the sides, and you can put all these files because we don't have enough space. So that's basically what it is. When we don't have enough space, they accommodate any piece of furniture that can be used for this purpose. So that's basically what it is. So we're not going to spend too much time doing all this. Labels. Remember, we have to use labels for all these equipment, filing equipment, so we know exactly what we encounter there. If they are drawers from the cabinets, we have to place there this. If it is numerical, we're going to use numbers from 1 to 99 are in this drawer. Numbers from 100 to 199 are on this block, or from letters A to D, like you're seeing right there on the slide, or whatever other methods you want to see. Because imagine in one place having A to Z, that would be impossible to find. So we separate. Sometimes we put all letters only A right here. Every patient that starts with last name A is going to be here, B is going to be here, C is going to be here. So that is how we arrange everything. So labels are very important because we need to know exactly what is it within this particular compartment. So that's basically what it is. And help us out with not exposing whatever it is with the content. See, we have these letters, we have these numbers, but nobody knows what these letters, these numbers, what are they going to use that for? Versus if they pick up the medical records, so the medical records is visible to someone and they can see the name, the last name, and that creates this breach of confidentiality. So that's basically how we are, keeping all these medical records protected. And I haven't heard anyone saying that, they entered the medical office and the first thing that they did was to steal all the medical records. Nobody does. So we shouldn't be worried about that. They're gonna enter the medical office and steal the computers, the laptops, electronics, maybe money, but they're not gonna go there for the medical records. But we have to keep them because they are very important for us in case of, for the patient care or in case of a lawsuit. So remember, question for your exam, medical records are considered legal documents. Why? In the court of law, these are the documents that is going to protect the medical personnel if it was filed, documented accurately, and all the information collected from the patient is in that file. If it's not, it's incomplete. We are in trouble. Folders. Now, this is what we call generally these manila envelopes or folders. So again, these are it comes in different colors as well. So each patient is going to be assigned one of these folders, and each one of these folders is going to have a top with a label, whether with the patient last name, first name, and middle initial, or patient's medical record. So that's how we are going to file the patient's information. So that's basically what it is. So it's very important that every single folder has a label, right, that identifies what's the content inside. Without it, it's like we didn't do anything. It's like just throwing papers right inside a drawer, and then you try to look for something specific, and then you're not going to find it. So that's basically how it works. We're not going to talk about every little detail, that the size of the page has to be the standardized, paper, letterhead, or blah, 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 letter, or official. We do not care about that. But most of the time, it's just standardized letter size. So again, probably you're not going to encounter this anymore because we have moved to electronic medical records now. But you have to know this is part of the curriculum. Labels, again, we know already what the labels are to identify the content in each one of these folders, the name of the patient or whatever, labels, types of labeling the patients or whatever is inside to identify the content, has to be clear so we can understand that this is exactly what it's there or what we're looking for. So that's it. The picture that you see there, or the image that you see there, is called the file jackets. Now, these are regular folders with one difference. These have these hoods on the end. So when we are going to use it, see these little hoods? These are mostly, we hang them in a cabinet in this way. So they're going to be hanging in there. So they do not fall flat. So we're going to keep them upright. So that's basically what it is, because they have too many files in there. And if you are going to place them in a cabinet, they're going to go flat, whichever is heavier than the other. So we're going to have all of them one pile, one on top of the other. So that's basically what it's trying to tell you. Again, this is not going to be asked in an exam, but this is part of the lecture, and I'm just going to go through it. Our guides. This is something that you need to know. This is going to be a question for exam. What is an out guide? Now, think about it, because the name of this particular filing supply is telling you is out guide. So whenever we remove a paper-based medical records, like here, a paper-based medical record is being removed. If you see, this person is retrieving this medical record. And it is replacement, we're going to put this out guide, which is this red kind of separator. I'm going to place it there. And in this place right here, in this label, there is a little pocket. We're going to enter the information to where is this medical record going. When the medical record was removed, who removed it, and to who this medical record is going to go. So if I'm looking for the medical record and I see this out guy, I'm not going to be just happy if I look, oh no, somebody remove it, but I need it. I need to know who has it. I need probably to go and pick them up because they didn't return it. So there I'm going to know who has it, who requested when and at what time, and who removed the chart from there. So that's called an out guide. So you will have a question there that they're going to ask you that what is the name of this particular separator or this particular supply that you're going to place when you remove a medical records, what it's called. And sometimes they're going to ask you, what is it within? Because if I just put something to separate, well, it's not going to tell me anything. What if I need the medical records and I don't know who has it and when this medical record was removed? Remember, you're not the only one working in that office or hospital. Now, once again, if you work in a hospital, you're not going to have this because we have a medical records department, a medical records technician. We just have to call and request it. So we do not have to do any of those. So, but we don't have to be using an out guide. But because most of the jobs for medical assistants begins at doctor's office, you need to know this. And that's what they ask you this question when during exams. So you need to know what is an out guy. So these markers, again, that you place replacing the medical records, the medical file that you're removing is called an out guide. Remember, always remember this because it's very simple. There's no way you're gonna mess up these answers. So that's basically what's important. And remember, it's not just to put this marker right there, replacing the medical records, because when you come back with the medical records, you have to place it right exactly there. So it's not just you're gonna place something in instead, but then you have to know what is it, who took the medical, when, at what time, and who has it. That's what's important. So we know where to get it. If they don't return it, we know where to look for. Our medical assistants spending hours looking for medical records because they were misplaced within all these files on the shelves, on the open shelves. Or because a medical doctor took it and put it inside the drawer, never returned it. And we had to go all over the place looking for those records. But when we have the out guide, at least we know that this person, this department claim it, and we're gonna look and we're gonna focus mostly on that place instead of going all over these medical records. Because that is time consuming. I'm telling you, I have medical assistants spending days looking for medical records. They have to remove every single medical record from those shelves. They have to find it. Can be missing. And it turns out then it was somewhere in the desk. So again, we have to be very careful. So whenever you are in the front desk and you remove one of these medical records, make sure that you get it back. Because next time that they're going to claim for it, even though if it is the doctor says, oh, no, I left it right there in the office. I put it right there in the front desk. I put it on top of my desk. I don't know what it is. And what are you going to do? You're not going to fight with the doctor. That's not how it works. So we have to be on top of things. So you got to make sure that every medical record that you remove from the shelves, you know who to give it to, and then you know that you have to claim it back. Otherwise, other doctors or someone else is going to be blaming you or is going to ask you to look for it. And it's going to be a lot of waste of time. Sometimes you have to stay after hours looking for it. You can't say, no, I'm going to go home tomorrow. When I come back, I look for it. No, that medical record needs to be found now. But if we are organized, we follow all the policies of the office, we're going to be fine. Remember, we don't expect these medical records to follow anything. They are very disorganized. I'm a doctor. I'm not disorganized, but I have worked with a lot of doctors that they are not organized at all. I have worked with them. And I know. But we have to be on top of things. Just for your own good. I don't want you to get stressed out when you work with someone that's not caring about it. So here's the question. Which of the following good you use to make the place when removing a particular record from the file? So what do you use? So that's an out guide. Remember, it's not a file guide, it's not a file jacket, it's not a file sorter, it's not a file folder. No. So you need to make sure that this is an out guide because the chart has been taken out. So that's basically what you need to know. So remember, this is going to be a question for you. Filing systems. So this is what your office or whoever created that office, whoever is the management person in charge of that office, they're gonna say, okay, we're gonna use this type of filing system. We're gonna use numbers. We're gonna use letters, so numeric, alphabetic, or a combination, alphanumeric, or color code, or digital, the last digital numbers, so terminal digits. So there are so many, there are more, but they are not common. And we're not gonna go through every single thing because once again, nowadays, we're not using any of these. This we're doing it for the sake of you passing the national exam and because it's part of the curriculum. Every single school goes through all these materials because if we don't cover, then you have questions on your exam and you're gonna say, oh, I was never taught that. So we got to make sure that we do cover everything. So it can be in a sequential order. So can you imagine numbers, straight numbers? We start from 1 and then 2, 3, 4, 5. But we have to follow that order. And then when we file them, when we place them, when we organize them, they have to follow this order also. You cannot have number 1 and then number 10 and then number 20 and then 3, 4, 5. It doesn't work that way. Because then that's when you take, you run the chances of misplacing or losing, for that matter, these medical files. And we should not change the system. If we organize the number in an ascending way from 1, 2, 3, or descending, we should not use that. Oh, no. Let's start from 100 and then 99 because it's a lot easier because these patients usually are the recent ones and they are coming more often. So I'm going to have it there in this side. No, we do not change anything. We're going to follow the filing system that your organization has. We're not going there to arrange, to change things. We're just going to continue with the flow that they are having and do it just in that fashion. Because otherwise, once again, if you go change things around and nobody knows, then you're going to have problems. Because files, charts, medical records are going to be filed on the wrong place. And that's not good. So that's basically what it is. So again, we have alphabetic, numeric, color code, terminal digits. So that's what we're going to do. One of the most common is the alphabetic system. Now, one of the things that I want you to remember is that because the alphabet is definite, so it's not like numbers that we don't have ends. The alphabet has 26 letters. So when those letters are done, we're gonna kind of double them. But again, we're talking about patient's last name, first name, and middle initial. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is that because the alphabet is kind of limited, so now we cannot use it when we have a high volume of patients. We cannot, because then it will be very hectic. So many letters, A, B, B, B. So it's going to be a little harsh to find the patients. But when we don't have too many like medical offices, how many patients a medical office might have? 200, 300, maybe 500 the most. What about hospitals? Well, hospitals is going to have hundreds, not thousands of patients. So for each one of them, depends on the volume of the patients, we're going to use the one that suits more that particular institution. So once again, we're going to arrange things in alphabetical order. So the patient's last name is going to be the first, then first name, the first letter, and then the middle initial. That's how we file this, just like the sample that you have on your screen. Again, this alphabetical usually works for doctor's offices. But sometimes we don't say doctor's offices for this purpose. We said where we know the amount or the volume of patients is kind of low. That's basically what it is. Particularly if we have to store all these medical records in shelves or cabinets, it's going to be too many. And it's going to be difficult with letters. So it's not going to be something that we're going to be handling, organizing without encountering all these, issues later on as we start enrolling more patients. So just for you to know, alphabetic. And how are we going to file those? Remember, we're going to start with the last name all the time. So the first letter of the last name, first letter of the first name, or the name and the first letter. So whatever the case may be. But we put last name, first name, middle initial. In this country, we don't deal like in our country that we have 10 names, 20 last names, and all that stuff. No, it is only middle initial is the only one that is the section right here, or a title. So for that matter, but other than that. So for alphabetic, we always going to use letters, and we're going to start once again writing the patient's name down. And then we're going to use any small volume facilities, and those are particularly medical doctor's office. Okay, numeric. Now, it is very easy also because we're going to use these sequential numbers. Remember, we're going to start from ascending 1, 2, 3, 4 until, well, they are indefinite. So we're going to have many, many, many patients. So it works for large institutions. So that's basically what is what I've been trying to tell you, because it has too many patients. So we're going to use numbers, and they're going to use they have their own set of numbers that they're going to use. So that's basically what it is. This is a question for exam, terminal digit filing. So think about this. If I said that this is a question for your exam, well, it means that you need to know. So how this terminal digit filing works. So terminal means at the end of this series of numbers. So you have a little sample right there. So we're going to use like 2 or 3 or 4 numbers at the end. So you're going to select them. So you're going to file them using that sequence of numbers. The last numbers. Like here, if you see here, we have 9 and 3. These are the terminal digits. So when you have a question on your exam, you just remember terminal digits. Oh, those are the 2, 3, or 4, the last numbers. So you know that those are the last numbers. And they're going to give you a sequence of numbers. So they're going to ask you, okay, so which of the following is considered a terminal digit? Well, you immediately look at the answer that has the same numbers that are repeated. 99, 99, 99, 99, 93, 93, 93, 44, 44, 43. So it has to be the same. If they are not the same, then that's not the answer. So that's basically what it is. So you don't have to file this. This is one of those things that, once again, is used in hospitals because they have lots of patients. But hospitals were the first one who moves to electronic medical records. So definitely you don't have to work with this. Remember, we're doing this for the curriculum of the class that we have to meet and some of the questions that comes out from these chapters. And from the electronic medical records, because it's what we're using currently, you're going to have other questions that are applicable for the electronic. But when you understand the paper, you're going to be able to understand the electronic because they're kind of similar, except for these filings. Because electronic uses a medical record number. So use a medical record number, or if you're in the doctor's office, you just enter the patient last name, and immediately all the people that are starting with that last name are going to show up on your screen. So this is like a pull down menu, and you're going to select the patient that you want to pull out the information from, or you want to enter information. But this is when you are creating these medical records, these type of files. So I'm just giving you the tip for you to get the answer correct, not because you're going to be doing this. And in a doctor's office, they will never see this. You're going to see color code and alphabetic. So that's basically it. So very simple. So this is something that you need to understand. Remember the terminal digits. So these numbers is, for example, the number 93 represents the last two digits of a longer number. There is a long number, like here, 42, 18, 93. So 93 is the numbers because the next file is going to say whatever else, 93 at the end. So that's how you are going to identify this question. That's what it says, terminal digits. So when you hear terminal digits, it's terminal at the end of the numbers. And you're going to select the answer that has the terminal digits that is similar. That is A. Nothing else. Any questions about this type of file? Color code. Now, again, all depends of, how to retrieve these files from the shelves of the cabinets. Colors usually are very visible from the distance. So these color codes are assigned to letters and numbers. So if color number, this particular color is assigned to this particular set of numbers, every single time that you see these numbers, you're going to be able to understand. So 1, 1, 1, 1, it says 1, 10, 100. So anything that has 1, 1, 1, 1, 10, 11, you know that the first number is going to be colored in that fashion. So you're going to see it. Number 2 is going to be in another color. Number 3 is going to be in another color. Number 4 is going to be another color. So when you file then, and you see that the sequence of the colors do not match, you know that you place or somebody else's misplace a file. So then you're going to remove it. You're going to say, but what is this color right here doing? It's like stands out. It stands out because everything else is going following these colors, and then suddenly you see a different color. So you are in between 100 and 199, and then you see number 2 in between. So you said, wait a minute, this color does not belong here. So you will see it immediately. So that is the purpose of the colors. So for you to be able to organize and, to see it just by looking at it, by scanning through it, you're going to see that something was out of place. So that's basically what it is. So it's going to be easy to retrieve. It's going to be easy to notice that something do not belong there. So that's basically how it works. So we have it right here. See, we have all the numbers. Number 1 is red, red, red. So whenever you see red, 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 is number 1. If you see color yellow or orange, whatever the color you think it is number 2, then number 3 is different, number 4 is different. So all the colors are different. So it's a lot easier. So when you file, then you know that everything that starts from 1 is gonna go in the same direction. 2 is gonna have the same direction, and so on and so forth. So again, the key is to be able to retrieve and to see if something is misfiled. So that is the purpose, because this is to avoid, to prevent this time consuming looking for the charts, looking for files. I'm telling you, I've worked with that and I know how painful it is. Here we have the letters as well. The letters are assigned a color. So whenever you have the same color, you know that all those charts, all these patients starts with the same letter from the same last name. And that's basically what it is. So it's going to be a lot easier for us to file them so we don't misplace them. So that's basically what it is. So don't not worry about anything else, because first of all, they're not gonna ask you this. Remember, I told you they're gonna ask you about what is an out guy. They're gonna ask you about what is the medical record. Then it's a legal document, definitely. And they're gonna ask you about the terminal digits. So up to now, not gonna ask you about anything else. If they ask you about anything about filing systems, is to keep everything organized so we don't miss any files, any charts. So all of them are placed correctly. This is another question that you may have in your exam. It's called the tickler files. Now, what is a tickler file? Now, look at the little picture right here. Do not forget this image. So usually this is a little kind of reminder that we have. This is like a little notebook. We have a little like box with all these labels when we have the addresses, the phone numbers, the emails, the contact numbers from people that we constantly call in, like maintenance, like laboratories, like referral names, when we write down appointments that we have pending for something. So that's basically what it is. So this is going to help us to track anything that it is needs to be completed or needs to be reviewed. So whenever we have the tickler files, we're going to look in there. So it says, oh, I'm supposed to do this day, but you're always going to look, it's like a calendar, so to speak. And you're going to go look there through those little files that you have, usually are by your desk, close to the computer. And that's where you put this. Oh, I have to call this vendor to bring these particular supplies this day. So you have it there, and you have the number of the patient contact, the company, and you put a note right there, the day that you have to go. So you are that goes in chronological order, of course. So you are continuously, and you or whoever is there has to be checking for something that has to be done during that day or the day before, so you are pending. So whenever you have this type of organizers, when you have, things that are pending to be reviewed, to be completed, that is called a tickler file. So again, remember the little picture, do not forget, because do not forget says, oh, something that was pending, something that needs to be completed. So I need to go there and do it. And where do I gonna find that? This is like having a calendar right there, or a to-do list kind of thing. So that's another name that we can call it, but we don't call it to-do list directly. We call it a tickler files. So that's basically, so think about the to-do list, and then you kind of change the name to the medical terms that we use for that purpose. So that's basically what it is. It said right there, check on regular basis. So it's not you only, it's everyone who's there, because something is pending and someone within the office needs to make sure that that is done before the time or the time that it was supposed to be done. It is organized by month, week, week, monthly, or day. So usually that is done daily and weekly. When there is something that is too far away, we tend sometimes to forget, so we do it weekly. So, we put things that we have to be, the to-do list that it has to be, but you can go up to a month. Not 3 months, 6 months, no. Or a year, who's gonna remember that? Some things that are pending, close, or expected to be done soon. So that's basically what it is. Because remember, we cannot keep everything in mind. We are so busy in the office, we keep forgetting. But when we see the particular files, then we're going to go there and we're going to check what's pending, what needs to be completed, what needs to be reviewed, and or delegate someone else to do it. So this is question for exam as well. So for particular file, think about reminders. This is a reminder of something that has to be completed, something that has to be done, something that has to be reviewed. Remember, it's very similar to a to-do list. So here is an example or a question. Today is December 17, which of the information listed below could be added to a particular file? So names of the patients that makes appointments 2 days ago. Well, we're not worried about that because this is not for that. This is for something more not directly with patients' appointments. So you have a medical conference dates, that you have to dates just received in the mail. So you are going to write that down because you have to remind your colleagues or the people that has to be attending this particular conference or this particular meeting, so you cannot miss it. So that's basically what it is. And it's something that you're not going to have in mind. Probably you don't have to attend it. Probably you have to attend it. But if you don't have to, this is a meeting, this is a conference for the doctor. So again, this is just a reminder that something has to be done, something has to be completed, something has to be reviewed. So that's basically how it is. Any questions about how have you covered already? The filing process. Now, you have all these files. Let's say that these files have been created already, and you have used these different types of filing systems, filing equipment. Now, the filing process, meaning putting all these documents that whoever complete them, they were loose prior to it. Remember, these medical records are not like binders that they have all these papers click in the same place or attached in the same place. No, these are loose forms that we pick up from the drawer or the medical assistant brings them when every single patient comes in. We attach a progress notes. Or we just put the progress notes on top of the medical record. Now that progress notes needs to be completed, needs to be signed by the doctor, and then we need to file it. Because if we don't do that, then the paper is gonna be lost. And then remember that the medical doctor has to sign this medical record in a period of 24 hours. So we got to make sure that every single file that was removed from the shelves of the cabinets, it returns back to the shelf of the cabinets, remember. And before we file them, we need to check them out to see that the patient that was seen, the medical doctor that saw the patient signed these forms at the end in every single visit. And if it's not there, we have to remind the medical doctor that, medical records needs to be completed. Remember, you have to be very professional. You receive the medical record from the patient, because remember, after the medical doctor sees the patient, sometimes the medical record goes back to you. Maybe the patient brings it back to you, or the doctor brings it back to you because you have to make an appointment. They have to do a referral because you have to do some charges there for the insurance, so many things. Then you might receive the medical record right away, but sometimes it's not completed. So the medical doctor did not write all the history. It doesn't matter whether it has information or not. The paper is empty. The one that you gave them, that page is blank. So there is no entry for that particular day, and or there is no signature from the doctor's side, then you have to remind them. As soon as the patient leaves, you need to take this medical record back to the medical doctor and tell the medical doctor, oh, Dr. A, Dr. B, Dr. C, here is the medical doctor record of the patient. The patient is already discharged, so you need to complete this. I'm going to leave it here, okay? And I pick it up later. That's how we had to do. Remember, we had to work as a part of the team because that information needs to be completed. Otherwise, the medical doctor the next day is going to forget everything that I asked the patient or all the evaluations that they did, and then the medical records is not going to be accurate. That is not good. So we have to step a little bit more, just being professional. And remember, you just telling the doctor, oh, here is the medical record. If you need to complete something, otherwise, let me know and I can take it back to the shelves or the cabinets. You're not telling them, hey, you haven't done your work, you haven't done this. No, that's not how we talk to the medical doctors. So we just, warning them in a very professional way. I'm going to leave the medical records right here. I think that you need to complete some information there. When it's ready, let me know. I come here to pick it up, or you can drop it up on my desk and then you can file it. That's how it's done. So it's very important that we follow all these things, that we do not misplace any piece of documentation from these medical records. That's why every single time that we receive something from the laboratory, from a referring physician, from the insurance, whatever pertains to the medical doctor, remember, we should not be filing these papers in the medical records immediately. These documents needs to be reviewed, revised by the medical doctor. So we place them in the bin or the incoming mail or labs to be reviewed. And then when the doctor reviews them, then they're going to put it in a second bin that says already reviewed, ready to be filed papers. The other one to be reviewed. So you got to get familiar with all this when you start working in an office to see what is the system that they have in place so you can do all this, because this is going to happen to you. Because these medical doctors' offices, they still use these in-mail results from laboratories. So you have to open them up and place it on the bin of the incoming mail or incoming labs. So medical doctors need to review them. Remember, you should not file everything that comes into the office until it's being reviewed by the doctor, period, regardless of what it is. You place it in the incoming mail or the incoming test laboratory testing, and then they review it and they do whatever they're going to do, and then they're going to sign it and they're going to place it in the bin that says to be filed. Remember, that's very important because that has to do with the filing process. So medical assistants are responsible for pulling and filing patient records, filing documents. So you are the one who's going to remove these files, these medical records, these charts from these shelves or the cabinets, and for any purpose, whether you're going to enter some information because you're doing vital signs, because you are documenting or placing an entry for the patient's visit, or because you're going to see something about the patient that it was required. So you pull out this medical record, you get the information that you need, you put it back together, everything in order, and you place it back to where you get it from. Remember, every single time that you remove it, you're gonna place the out guy in there, because later on, if you don't place it, you're gonna forget exactly where you place it for. You remove it from. So now you're gonna go there and pull those files to the side and just stock this file anywhere. And he says, oh, that's not me. Someone else is gonna, not me. No, we have to be organized. Everybody has to work in the same, with the same responsibility. Yeah, there are more medical assistants, but it doesn't imply that I can misplace something, because that's going to cause problems trying to find out, trying to figure out where this discharge is, and a lot of time consuming. So not good. So we have to do our job. And if it is any files, loose files, you place it correctly and then put it back. Because we're going to see where are we going to place every single thing, because we have spaces, compartments for everything. If it is lab results, we're going to place it where it says lab results. X-rays, where the X-rays are. MRIs, where the MRIs are. In the big section of labs. Bloods, right there where the bloods are. Urines, where the urines are. You're not going to place CAT scans, MRIs all together. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to place urine, blood, CAT scans, MRIs all in this array. No, you're not going to mix them up. That doesn't work that way. And we're going to be using a reverse chronologic order. That means that the latest is going to be on top. This is like these classes. Today's lesson is going to be in the bottom, because tomorrow is going to be on top, and a day after and on top. So the last lesson that I'm going to give for this class should be on top. When the patient came from the first time 10 years ago, that's going to be all the way in the bottom. As soon as you start seeing the patient every single time that the patient comes in, that becomes the new visit, becomes on top. That's a reverse. Because every single time that we open the medical record, you see the last visit, and that's the last time that the patient was there. So we're going to have it on top, because these are questions for exam, but we're going to go over that. So you're going to file all these documents where they belong. If it is a progress notes, you're going to put them where the progress notes are. If it is a nurse's note, you're going to place it where the nurse's notes are. If it is personal information, registration, you're going to place it with the registration, the personal information is at. If you receive a letter from anything about the patient, goes where the correspondence is at. You're not going to put it in the middle of the bloods, the patient's encounter forms, or the progress notes, or anything like that. No, everything goes exactly where it belongs. Think about you coming to this class. You're not going to go to dental class. That's not the class that you registered for. So the person over there, they don't know you. They don't have records of you. So you have to come to the medical assistant class, and you have to come to this medical record management class, because there's another class that is running. Well, you're not going to go to the other class because you weren't registered to that class. Oh, no, but it's the same medical assistant, so I'm going to go anyways. No, that doesn't work that way. You don't work to a workplace that says, oh, you know what? I work as doing this, as a cashier, but I work in Manhattan. I'm not going to go one store right here in Queens. And, well, they have registers over there, so I'm just going to sit in one of those. It doesn't work that way. Things goes where they belong. And that's what we have to do, to keep everything organized. So whenever you need to retrieve it, you're looking for it, you find it. For that reason, we are always going to follow our policies, our practice policies. They have these policies in place already. We're not going to go there and change them. I'm telling you this because sometimes we have people that have worked in a different place, in a different clinic, in a different hospital. And they do little variations here and there. They might have a different file system. So when you come to work for me or you want to work for this particular institution, first you have to learn what they do over there, where the things are, what equipment they're using, how many people is working over there, how many doctors, how many medical assistants, how many nurses, how we are going to distribute all the work that we're going to do. What is my job here? Do I have to do a little bit of everything? No, I'm going to be assigned these particular tasks, particularly when it comes to medical records. So if that's your job, you have to learn what is it that they do in that particular office. Because you start filing the way that you learn somewhere else, probably you were doing it wrong, or they're using a different filing system. So don't go there and start doing the same, pretending, oh, I know it. Yeah, you knew how to do it on the other place, but this is different. It might be the same, but you have to learn first how they manage these medical records in the office that you are currently working. So otherwise, you're gonna be in trouble because you're gonna say, "Oh, your excuse is gonna be, oh, I've been doing this for many years. That's what I was doing in the office." That's not a good excuse. Remember, every single practice has their own policies, and we are going to be, we're gonna abide by those policies, not by the policies of the place that I used to work. So we learn, and we don't have any troubles. Remember, misfiling, misplacing these medical records is a pain. It's a very, very stressing. It's a big burden for everyone who works in the office. I'm telling you, I have medical assistants like 2 days looking for a file. Within all this stuff, they have to remove every. I put them to remove it because they are the one who messed up with it. They were just looking. Oh no, it's not here. It's not here. Okay, you guys gonna work together. So you're gonna clean all that. We're gonna get all them down and side by side and organize all that until you find it. So it's the only way. Medical records should not disappear because nobody takes them away from the office. They are somewhere within the office. And most of the time they are misplaced. They don't use the out guide. If they have the out guide, it's nothing written in the out guide. It doesn't say when the chart was removed, what day, what time, and to who this chart was given. And most importantly, who did it? Because then I'm going to make you responsible for it because your initials are there. So you remove it, you look for it. It is your responsibility. It's not that I gave it to the doctor and, oh, well, I gave it to the doctor and I don't know what they did with it. Well, at least you know that you gave it to the doctor. So let's start from there. So again, we have to be very responsible in our workplace. Because when the information is needed, that's when you do not find things because the time is very important. Remember, if this patient comes for a follow-up appointment, these are 15 minutes appointment. But we're spending an hour looking for the medical record or looking for the file. See, when the patient signs, they make an appointment. We should remove those medical records the day prior for the appointment, just to make sure that all the information is within the medical record, that is filed there, that is correct. And read what is the reason why the patient comes to the office. I have an appointment for tomorrow. It is for a lab results, but it turns out that the lab results are not in the file. Now you're going to bring this medical record, you're going to give it to the doctor is going to open the page, open the file, the folder, and they don't find the labs right there. They don't find the labs on the incoming or to be review files. Nothing. What are you going to do? And you have received that. Now you have to look for the paper, you have to, or call the lab, get the printout, and give it to the doctor. So we have to review everything. It's not just pulling the file or the medical chart from the shelves. That's not the job. Just pulling it out, putting the out guide, and that's it. Oh, yeah, I'm done. No, it's to see if everything is there. The recent files, the recent labs, if it were ordered, that's what we need to read, whether the patient has an appointment or not. If the patient just walk in, we're gonna pull the chart and we're gonna do exactly the same at that particular moment. There is nothing more annoying than I open these medical records and I do not find the labs there that were supposed to be, or that you didn't tell me in advance that I have to review those. So I have to start from zero now, reviewing them, and it's gonna take me some time. Now, I'm not gonna give a kind of good results to my patient because I have to go over those review those labs. So we have to do this every single time that we receive all this information for the patient and place it correctly in the bins where they're supposed to go, so the medical doctor can review them and the medical doctor can be ready when the patient comes in. So it's not just registering patient, it's not just making appointments for the patient. No, we need to make sure that the day before or the time that the patient comes in and is making an appointment on that day, as a walk-in, that we pull out the information and that we have every single document up to that day should be there. So that is the process of filing, not just misplacing, misfiling something within the folder, but having the things that are needed for the particular visit. So once again, place record should be filed in a secure file return area. Again, follow the policies of your practice. They have a way of doing that. If the doctor has the medical record after you remove it from the shelves or from the cabinets, you give it to them in person. Avoid giving the medical record to the patient. Oh, the patient is calling you. Take the medical records with you. Probably that have happened to you. It have happened to me. So that's not the proper way of handling the medical records. Oh, but it's the patient. So that's the information of the patient. It doesn't matter. The patient should not be reading the medical records anyways. But if the patient is not going to understand, the patient is going to have too many questions now. Now I'm going to spend time explaining all the questions that try to read in the medical records because these are medical terms. The patient do not know medical terms. Now I'm going to spend all the time explaining what he or she read from the medical records. And not for the reason that you are here today. So it's a waste of time. This should be handled by medical personnel. We should go give it to the doctor. And then, depends on the policy, you can pick it up from the doctor again, which is the best thing to do. Go there when the patients are gone, when the patients are done. You go there, knock, knock. Doctor, are you done with the medical records? Oh, no, I'm still having complete. Oh, please let me know so I can put them back in the shelves. That's it. So that's how it works. Once again, sometimes we bring the medical records to the front, but learn what is, what are the habits of the medical doctor, because sometimes you're working with the doctor that is the owner of the office. That's why you have to be nice, whether it's the owner or it's not. Not being nice, being professional. And get used to their habits. Oh, I have to go all the time to the doctor's office to pick up the records because these guys don't bring it to the front. Remember, we learn from the experiences, who we're working with, how they do things. If we don't do that, we're going to be lost. We're going to be in trouble all the time. So that's a filing process. How we're going to bring back all these documents that belongs to this particular patient, place it exactly in each of the one of the compartments of the medical record. Everything following a reverse chronological order. The latest one on top. Not the first one goes on top, it's the latest papers needs to go on top. That's a reverse chronological. Think about you taking the train, the bus, your car from your home to your workplace. What is reverse? Well, you're not going to start from your home. Reverse means you're coming back from your workplace, from your school, you're coming back. So you're going to go that way. So you're going to start from there, not from your home. Remember, every last document from the patient has to be on top, not going to the bottom, goes on top. So whatever happens today, this goes on top. Everything that we covered before, you put it and piling up. This goes on top. Today's lecture, it goes on top. Tomorrow lecture is gonna go on top. And after, on top, on top. So the last lecture is gonna be the last one on top. So if you're gonna go back to the first lecture, you have to go and going back to that day when we start the class. Today's the filing process. So again, these are the things that, or the three types of filing items that we use. So how do we file? New patient record folders. This was starting from scratch. Remember, new patient, we create a new file. If it is in paper based, well, we get a new folder and we get the registration form and all the patient's information is collected over there. That's it. If the patient brings any documents from somewhere else, then we have to place it accordingly. If we do not, we're going to start a new record, because if the patient brings a medical files from another doctor, we are not going to add whatever we're starting with those files. Oh, we're going to put it on top of the old. No, that was someone else's. That doesn't belong to us. We need that information, but we're going to open a new medical record. We're starting from a new one. And every time that we need some information about the patient, these medical records needs to be together. So we're going to place this folder and this folder together. Let's say that I have these two folders. This is one folder. This is another. This is the old files that I'm bringing from my prior doctor, because you're going to be my new doctor. I'm creating this folder. So in this folder, I'm going to file everything that this new office is going to do for me. But I'm going to have the two charts right there together. So I'm going to put, a rubber band attached to it. So every single time that the patient comes in, I'm going to pull both of them and bring it to the doctor. Why? Because the doctor needs to go back to prior visits with someone else. But I'm not going to put inside information that I'm starting as a new one. So that's how it works. So new patients, new record. And this is very important that you understand this. We're not going to touch the old files to our new, because those things were done by someone else. And in the court of law, I'm not going to bring somebody else's medical record. I'm going to bring mine, because I'm going to be protecting what I did, not what somebody else did. Individual documents for existing folders. So these are the established patients. And patients, already we created a medical records. So these are individual documents, blood results, the official reading from a CAT scan, MRI, any imaging reports or surgical procedures or diagnosis for a referring physician, external laboratory. Anything that comes out comes from different places or from the office, whatever it is. So these are individual papers that we're gonna add to the medical files. Previously filed patient record folders. So these are documents that sometimes we remove from there. We need to make copies from there. The doctor needs to do something and it only is gonna use those, and then we have to place it back again. The medical doctors remove papers sometimes because they need to make a copy, and then they don't put it back. They leave that job for us. So these papers were filed before, were attached to the medical records, and then you see them lose when you open the medical file. Oops, these papers are flying out of the folder. And then you see, wow, yeah, this paper was before was attached to the record. What is now loose? Well, something happened. You need to put it back to where it belongs. Because sometimes the doctors don't bother going there and placing every single thing where they remove it from. So remember, we never argue with doctors. Don't go there and confront a doctor. What is this paper loose? What don't I don't know. You remove it. That's not my problem. That's not how we talk. You get fired. That's called insubordination. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, the doctor didn't do the right thing. They remove something, it's supposed to put it back, but they don't do it that way because that's what they have us as a medical assistant. That's what it's called a medical assistant. See, your kids, your husband, your wife, your friends, your family members do mess in your home when they visit you. And who has to fix it? Us. Yes, you can tell someone not to do mess, but that's a different issue. We are in our homes. But in our job, we have to be very careful how we talk to our superiors. Remember, we talk about communication, and communication is very important. If you are talking with certain tone of voice, with certain attitude, we notice that immediately. And we do have attitudes. Sometimes we are very frustrated for things, whether job related, whether personal related, but we need to know how to handle those situations. In our job, we have to be very, very discreet in everything that we do. Otherwise, we are going to get in trouble. I'm telling you, me personally, I have fired many people for attitude. That's called insubordination, remember? And it happens all the time. You tell them something to do, and then the way that you respond, the way that you behave. Remember, you don't have to talk sometimes. Body language, facial expressions. That's what is so important about this. That we're going to be able to communicate with people even though when we do not talk. With your patients, they've seen everything that you're doing, your boss, your coworkers, and we're learning about you. And then we make decisions. Remember, sometimes you have to remove papers because or the doctor remove it or you remove it because you've been asked to make copies of these particular documents to do something with them or to send it to the insurance, to send copies to the referring physician or for some other thing. So the patient needs copies. But everything has to be reviewed by the doctor, approved by the doctor before you give anything to the patient. But all those files need to be placed back within the folder. Nothing should be should be left loose within the medical records, have to be attached to it. Nothing should be placed on the desk, on the drawers, on top of the desk, or the counter, just leave it somewhere. Oh, I fix it tomorrow. I don't have time now. No, because tomorrow never comes. Not gonna do it. We're gonna lose those papers. We're gonna damage those papers. Those are legal documents. We need it. So that's basically how it goes. So we have to be very, very careful how we handle all this information when filing medical records. Remember, this is the life of a patient. This is where all the information from the patient is there. And if we don't keep every single document right there and something happens to the patient, this medical record is going to go to the court of law. And if it's missing paper right there, we lost. If it is not well documented, we have lost. If we don't have all the information there, it is incomplete, we are lost. Independently, whether we weren't actually guilty or whatever being accused, but because we miss information right there, it's going to show that or you did it on purpose, you remove those papers because that's what the court of law is gonna think. Oh, you're missing these particular labs. It's not that someone did not put them in there, that we missed them, that misplaced them. It's that you are trying to hide evidence. That's how it works. Think about it. Do you have this particular paper? Oh, I left it at home. Okay, go get it. Oh no, I don't find it. Well, probably true. You're not finding it because you don't know where to place it. But guess what? Through my eyes, for what I'm thinking is, you don't have it. And you're making all these stories to cover that. That's exactly what, you know, the judge, the jury, the attorneys involved in a case, the prosecutors in that case, they're going to find you guilty because you're not complying with everything that is being requested. Because it's supposed to be there, but you don't have it. So think about it, very serious. Okay, so it is 7. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to continue with this chapter. Any questions before we take a break? All right, so it's 7:05. We come back at 7:40. Okay, so let's take a nice break, go eat something, drink something, check your messages, and we come back 7:40. All right?
Okay.
All right. See you then. Enjoy your break. Okay, class, we are back. So we are going to continue with this filing process. I hope you guys enjoy your break. Okay, so today is Thursday. Remember, tomorrow we don't have a class, so we're going to be seeing each other back on Monday. So for now, let's continue and see how far we're going to go with this chapter. Okay, so the filing process, we continue. We're going to see which one are the 5 steps for filing documents in the medical record. So the first thing that we are going to do is going to be inspecting. What are we going to be inspecting? The documents. Make sure that you have the correct documents for this particular file, for this particular medical record. So we're going to select them. So in order to do that, we have to follow all these processing. Then we're going to use the indexing. So inspecting. First, we're going to select, okay, this document belongs to this patient. This document belongs to this patient, goes into this particular site or compartment of the medical record. It's a lab results. It's an imaging report. It's notes from the nurse. It's notes from the doctor. It's the patient's personal information that we are updating. It is a copy of the insurance. It is a copy of the photo ID, and so on and so forth. Referrals, correspondence. So we're going to inspect first what material do we have that we need to file. That's basically what it is. And we do that in every single process that we have at home. Think about you preparing a recipe, you're preparing breakfast, so you prepare this, so you arrange the things that you need. So that's how it works. So with the medical records, we're going to do the same. We're going to make sure that we have everything for each particular file, for this particular folder, for this particular medical records. So we're going to index them. How are we going to index them? Well, we're going to select where are they going to go within the medical record. That's basically what it is. Depends of they using color code, they using alphabetic numbers, they are alphabetic filing, they use numeric, they do the terminal digit. So that's basically how we're going to do it. We need to put everything in order when we are going to file something. Sometimes we have more than one paper for that particular patient that needs to be filed. So regardless of what it is, whether it's 1, 2, or many, so we have to follow the same steps. So again, we're gonna code those. This is very similar to indexing, because indexing might be just the color code or the numerical filing, or just following the process of whether we put it in the shelves, open shelves on the wall, or the cabinets. So just I'm gonna make sure that we following all these steps. Then we're gonna sort them out. Well, that's something that we should have done when we spec them, right? But we're gonna follow certain order. So everything kind of follows into certain steps in the process. So that's basically what it is. And then we're going to store them. Now we have all the documents. We know where they're going by, using the reverse chronological way of filing this. Remember, we might have papers that are in different dates that we received them from different sources. So we need to know where they're going to go and in which place we're going to put them. It's not just because I received this paper today, I'm going to be placing it on top. Well, no, because this paper has to go to the medical doctor. When the medical doctor review it, then we're going to place it where it belongs. If it is lab results, we have labs, but within labs, we have blood, we have urine, we have other bodily fluids, then we have x-rays, we have CAT scans, MRIs, sonograms. So we're going to put it right on top of, no, for the day that was done, the day the results came. Remember, these are papers that are not the ones that we received lately. It might be papers that we have not filed for several days. So we need to put them in order. So that's basically when we are going to be sorting out before we store them. So we have them. And now that we have the order, we're going to start, okay, first, this one, I'm going to place it right here, the next one right here. Because it's not by the time that you start filing, because if you have more than one paper for that particular medical record or chart, you're not going to have a big bunch of papers and start sorting out in between, getting lost. Okay, this is first, this, because you want to waste too much time. That's what you sort them out first. You inspect, you index, you code, you sort, and then you store. That's how everything should be done. So you're going to be placing things. So to avoid all these and have many papers, then it might, get us a little confused when we filing these papers inside the medical records. So we should file them as we receive them. When we receive them, we place it in the incoming results and to be evaluated, reviewed by the doctor, and then when we receive it immediately, we should be filing them. So we don't have all these papers that have accumulated, because that's the problem. When we have too many papers from many patients that are loose somewhere else, and then we kind of disregard it. Sometimes we just feel it's too much for us. But if we start completing all these, filing these papers as we receive them by the time after being reviewed, that would be the best thing that you can do. Okay, so one of the things that we have to do when we work is to avoid somehow that these documents are used for too many people. So I know that these documents needs to be used for certain people, but sometimes too many people have access to them. So in your workplace, if you are the only one, can you imagine? Or there are two people just working over there as medical assistants, you are the only ones who move, withdraw or retrieve these medical records and put them back and do the filing process, then it will be a lot easier. The less people that is involved, the better, because the more people, they're just gonna do whatever. I'm telling you, they're gonna misplace, they're just gonna place it wherever they feel like it. Oh, I'm not gonna look between those charts where this chart go. It looks like it goes here, let's place it right there. They don't use out guys. I remember working in an office where the medical assistants were not using the out guys. So whenever you have to put the medical chart back, they just place it wherever they feel like it. I'm telling you. And when they were looking for it, then we have plenty of time, waste of time there looking for them. So if we can get as many people as the least people as possible to get involved in taking, these medical records away, less chances of, losing or missing these files or the entire chart. So we know one thing for sure, because we have a problem with the doctors. I know because I worked there, I was one of them. So one of the things that I never did, because I was a medical assistant, because before I became a medical doctor, was that I was very organized. So if I took a medical record, I complete it and I bring it to the front. If for some reason I was a little caught up with something, I call someone and I ask them, come and bring, take the charts, put it back. They're complete. But because nobody acts the same way, sometimes the doctors just place the medical records wherever they feel like. I even have doctors that, they own their office or they work for this small practice and they took the charts to be completed at home. That is illegal. No one should be taking medical records away from the medical office. That is a no. Because that's the problem. Because then they take it home, they sometimes forget it, they miss it shouldn't be leaving the place on the first. So that's basically the bottom line is that. So remember, the medical records belongs to the office. They do not leave the place. If for any reason we need to give copies to to the patient or to whoever the patient wants his or her personal information being or medical information to be released, we have to have an authorization of release of information from the patient. And we do not give the original, we give copies, and it has to be evaluated by the doctor first. The doctor has to evaluate when someone requests copies, the patient requests has to fill out a form in the office. In our presence, they have to sign a document. It's not that the patient is going to call, say, hey, my husband, someone is going to go there to pick up. No, this is not a delivery company. These are information this is information that is very, very serious, and it can get us in a lot of trouble. So for that reason, we have to follow exactly the regulations of how to release this information. So we cannot release the information just because the person called and says, oh, release the information. No, it doesn't work that way. It has to be signing, reading, and explaining us what is the content, what is going to be released, to who is going to be released, what information needs to be released. The patient is going to sign in front of us. If the patient don't do that, we don't release information until the patient do that. So that's how it goes. The only time that we allow the original medical record to leave our office is in a lawsuit when the court requested. That's called through a subpoena, a summons. We've been sued, so therefore the court requires the original medical record from the patient. Okay, this is the only time because we have a court order. There is no other situation in which we are going to allow the original medical records to leave the office. But before we give this to the court, we're going to make copies of that, and we're going to keep copies. They want to see the originals. They don't want to see copies. So this is the only time by the court or order, by a court order, when there is a subpoena. Remember, subpoena is a court order that demands that certain documentation be brought to the presence of the court. So that's basically what it is. Let's say that you are subpoenaed to do something, to appear on court. That means that you have to go there. There's no runarounds. You have to be there. Subpoena documentation. You have to send the documentation. It's a court order. So there is court order. When it's a court order, you must do it. And that's it through a subpoena. It says right here. One exception to the rule of leaving the original medical records is through a subpoena, through a court order, nothing else. Remember, there is no other situation. Oh, I'm leaving the country. Oh, I'm going to another doctor. I want my medical record. Not a problem. You're going to get a copy. But you're going to get a copy when the medical doctor reviews this medical record and decide which information I'm going to give to you. Because I'm the owner of your medical record. So I decide what is it that I can release or not. So be careful with that, because this is not making copies of any information of the patient to give it to the patient. If the patient asks you for some reason, anything, oh, can you give me a copy of my lab results? Oh, can you give me a copy of, the paper that the doctor filled out over there that says what is that I have? What is my diagnosis? Oh, sure, not a problem. Let me get the medical records. I'm going to make a copy for you. No, illegal. That's a no. We should not do any of those. You got to go to the doctor. You got to ask the doctor, I have Mr. Miss Browns, the patient that you just saw, or the patient just came today, one of your patients. Here is the medical record, because whenever someone shows up to the office requesting for something, you do not go to the doctor's office and Oh, there is a patient over there that I want something from you. That's not how it works. That's not professional. Who's the patient? I don't know. Oh, let me go ask. Oh, her name is Mary. Oh, it's Mr. Brown. Yeah, who? How do I know that? Remember, we don't recall everything from the patients. I don't even know the names of the patients. I might recognize it by face when they come to me, but the only thing that I help me out to recall who the person is the medical records. That is it. So you have to bring the medical records for any inquiry that you have from the patient. You pick up, pull out the medical records, have a know what is the patient needs. You go to the doctor, knock the door when it's available. Otherwise, follow the policies. Please have a seat, Mr. and Mrs. Brown. When the doctor gets available, I'm gonna ask, what is the process for you getting a copy of that? Oh, no, I just need a copy of the nothing. You have to follow the due process. That's basically what it is. So be careful with these medical records because that's the most important thing. We are going to be talking about the release of information form. And you're going to see the amount of things that this document is going to ask. And you have to be there in front of me, face to face. And you have to sign it in my presence. So I know that that was you that you signed the paper. And if something happens with that information, you are the only one responsible for it. So we do not release information. We do not release anything. We don't tell the patient, oh, how was my test? We do not go over the medical records or the computer. Oh, no worries, it was negative. We don't say anything. Oh, you have to talk to the doctor. Oh, no, but I just want to know the results. Oh, you should know. That's not my job. This is the doctor's job to give you the diagnosis, to give you the results. Oh, but other people that from here, they tell me, well, you just said other people. I'm doing my job. Thank you. I'm sorry that I cannot give you that information. So you want to make an appointment or you want to wait for the doctor? I can go there and ask. So he have spare time to talk to you, but otherwise I cannot give you that information. Period. You're going to cover yourself. So remember, that's what's going around with this original medical record. Should not leave the office by no means, except by a court order. That's it. We continue with this filing process. Take a look at this pile of medical records right there. Can you imagine? That is a mess. If I see that, I'm gonna be like, wait a minute. All those papers sticking out of place, out of sequence, out of order. I mean, it's just a mess. It shouldn't be like that. You should not stack medical records like that. So we have to be, proactive. Every single time that the patient comes in, we pull out the chart, we do all the due processing, receive the chart from the medical doctor. If there is something that needs to be filed, to be put together, not loose papers inside, we have to check that they are in order, where they are supposed to be, labs supposed to be in the labs, x-rays supposed to be where the x-rays are, bloods where the bloods are, and the doctor's knows what the doctor's notes are, and we save. But if we start accumulating all these medical charts, just piling them up somewhere, and then we try to clear them up, it's going to be a problem. Remember, one of the disadvantages of paper-based medical records is that the paper get damaged, get lost. So if one of those papers got lost or missing or it get damaged, it get wet, it get torn, rip off, or just we discarded thinking that it was not something important, that was a scratch paper, that's going to create a problem. So for that reason, we have to keep everything organized, neat. That's how it works. Remove one chart, you put it back. As soon as it's done, you put it back. Don't just accumulate them to the end of the day. Because remember, at the end of the day, we are in a hurry. We're just going to go home. There are other things we have to do before we close. Before we go home. This is not the time to start putting everything together because you're not going to do it. The first thing that you're going to think, I'm going to do it tomorrow. And I'm going to do it tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes because they keep on piling this. And because that was something that you did, something that I did, something that somebody else did, nobody takes responsibility. Everybody's thinking, oh, well, they should do it. And I've been thinking, oh, they should do it. And they thinking, you should do it. See? That's how it works. So again, they have to be filed very neat, organized, and on time. If that doesn't happen, then we're going to be in trouble because this is paper, and paper gets damaged, get lose paper. So again, we have to do what we have to do. Be responsible. So here it is. Look at the little clip right there. All the paper is falling off because that's what we do sometimes. Just throw things in a drawer. And then we're going to sort them out. That's going to be a problem. It's too many stuff. Just looking at the mess, we just decide not to do it. So we not overcrowd things because then it's going to be difficult to find them, to retrieve them, to sort them out. And that's not the way that we should do. Those papers need to go where the files are. Every single time that we receive them after being reviewed by the doctor and they are ready to be filed, you should be filing them. That's basically what it is. There's no other excuse. And then you're going to have your office organized. That's how you should do. So in order to do that, I mentioned it already, file these documents regularly, meaning every single time that you receive them, every single time that they are ready to be filed. Remember, they need to be ready to be filed. Don't place documents that you just received by the mail inside the medical records because the doctors do not know. They need to evaluate every single paper that comes for the patient. Might be results, might be a letter from the referring physician, might be something serious about following up with the patient, ordering something else, calling the patient. So we need to have them first evaluated, reviewed by the doctor. They are ready to be filed. Now we do it. So that's basically what it is. Avoid placing all these documents for every single thing in one place. Why? Because when we start storing things from different sources, then it's going to be difficult to be sorting out what we need for the patient's files. Receipts from purchasing things for the office, ordering supplies do not go in the patient files. So we cannot place everything in one place and then start to retrieving them and start sorting them out in order for us to file them in the appropriate medical records. That doesn't work. It's going to take too much time and you're probably going to get bored. Probably you're going to get tired of doing that. Probably you're just going to stop altogether and not going to do it. Every single person that starts working should be trained on how to handle, how to manage medical records. What are the type of filing system that you have? How do you file them? What is all the steps? As I mentioned before, explain then that everything that comes to our office should not be filed immediately, needs to be reviewed by the medical doctor or whoever else is reviewing that. Most of the papers has to be reviewed by the medical doctor. Because if it is lab results, or diagnosis or anything else that it is for the patient's care, well, the medical doctor needs to be reviewed. And the medical doctor is going to place it in these things to be filed. That's basically what it is. So you're going to be going over everything continuously, all the time, regularly, and checking out that everything is in order and that no papers are left without filing them appropriately. Everyone in the office, it's not you, the new kid in the block, that has to do everything. But sometimes that's how we're going to end up doing filing. What happens when we do not place these documents correctly? Again, see the consequences of misplacing these files or not knowing where they are. So we're going to determine where the file was when last seen or used. And what are we going to use? The out guide, because that's the key. Remember, every single time that you remove a paper-based medical record, you have to place an out guide. This out guide has a little pocket right there, and we're going to place in a little paper today's day, time, who claimed the medical record, where did the medical record, when? So who has it? And who released it? That's it. So now you know that whether you're not there, somebody else is going to need the chart, and it says, oh, somebody else have it because they have all the information right there. They're not going to be looking around, walking like chicken without a head, looking for something because they know already that this medical record has been removed. They're not going to be thinking that it is misplaced. But if you don't do that, then these medical records probably are misplaced. Someone has it, but we don't know where. So we have to be looking all over the place, wasting time. And probably it might be something that is important. It's work that I have to do. I need this medical record. I need information that is contained with the medical record. Otherwise, I cannot do my work. Remember, the medical record is not just for the medical doctor. The nurse uses the medical record. The medical assistant uses the medical record. Billing and coding uses the medical record. So it's not just us. And one of the problems that we have, or I might say the disadvantage that we have with paper-based medical records, is that, if someone has the medical record, nobody else can have it. So that's basically what it is. Oops, my computer. So nobody else can have it. So that is the problem, because it's a physical document. How can you have it? I have it. Somebody else have it at the same time. No, if somebody else have it, I have to wait until this person release it, then it can come to me. So that's going to slow me down. If I have to do something, taking information from that medical record, but somebody else's have it, or it is misplaced or somewhere else, and we don't have access to it, we're not gonna do our job. So that's basically what it is. As soon as the patient finished with the interview, the patient finished with the doctor visit, the doctor has to immediately bring the medical record, because this medical record is going to be used by billing department. In billing department is going to get the diagnosis, start billing immediately, because the billing process takes between 3 weeks to 1 month to get paid. And if it would take too long to bill, then it's going to be accumulating the job for this person. So that is the advantage that we have with electronic medical records, because with electronic medical records, many people can be at the same time using the files from the medical doctor. It's like you guys. Right now, because of these online classes, you can see me and I can see you. Well, let's assume that we are seeing each other, right? But you can take my class from different locations. Each one of you lives in a different place. in a different area because it's electronic. But if we have a face-to-face, you have to come and meet me at the school. So that is, the advantage of electronic medical records, because you can see me or we can see the patient's medical record. It doesn't matter how many people they are using it. I just need to have access to it through the internet, and I just go and enter the system. See, all of you have an application, Teams, to come here and join my class. Again, only those who register for the class have access to my class. See, anyone from the outside cannot say, oh, I'm going to take this class. I'm not going to pay for it, but I'm going to take it because I want to learn something. No, if you're not registered, you do not have a code, you do not have login access, so you're not going to be able to. So that's basically what you have to understand, that misplacing this file is not just, oh, it is misplaced. No, it is the consequences of misplacing the file. Time consuming, looking for it. Some of the people should be doing some work based on that medical information. You're not going to be able to do it. If it's something happened to the patient, now I cannot follow up. Now we have to repeat the test. Now we have to look for copies now. But if it is the whole file, can you imagine? How I'm gonna get this medical record back? If it is missing, it's missing. We don't have copies of those. See, if we have electronic medical records, that's a different issue. Why? Because if it is safe, all the information of our patient is safe in the cloud. So everything that's tested in the cloud, we're gonna get it whether the place burns out. All the computers burns out in the medical office. Everything is destroyed. No worries. We're gonna have a new computer, and as long as we have internet, we're gonna be able to retrieve that information because it's in the cloud. Or it is saved with the backup in some other electronic devices. So that's basically what it is. Paper, no. If paper get damaged, we lost all that information. It get lost, it's lost. We're not gonna be getting it back. So it is a problem. And that is the reason why the government came up with the idea that everything has to be electronic. Not only for that reason, but we're gonna discuss later on other major reasons or major disadvantage of using paper instead of having the information of the patient electronically for security purpose. See? You're not going to misfile anything. If you have the information in the system, it's going to be there. You might enter the information in the wrong place. Yes, you misplace information because you entered the information in the wrong compartment of the medical records, but the information is going to be there. It's just that we're going to be looking for it. Here, if it is misplaced, probably never we're going to find it. The other one is there within the system. It is there with the medical record. We're just going to spend time. And that's what we want to prevent. So again, we're going to be making sure that, the system that we're using for storage in these medical records or to hold these medical records are, accessible only to the personnel that works in the office. And that the people knows, because the misplacement of files creates a lot of trouble, I'm telling you. A lot of trouble. And this is a legal issue. Not for the now we don't have the information from the patient. How am I going to retrieve it? How am I going to continue with the care of my patient if I don't recall everything that I have done for my patient or other people have done for the patient? Remember, sometimes the patient has been seen by many medical providers in the same facility. Let's say, for instance, in the hospital, you go to the hospital to go to the outpatient clinic today, doctor sees you. 1 year later, someone else is going to be seeing you, and so on and so forth. So no one is going to remember what your history is. Can you imagine 5, 6 doctors that have seen you previously? That's going to be impossible. So again, we have to be very cautious when it comes to this particular files. So we just need to file these as soon as we have them available. That's basically what it is. Check underneath the files and drawers and shelves. Well, you're gonna check everywhere. I'm telling you, this is a time consuming. Check items to be filed, check with other staff members. My goodness, you can imagine when something is misplaced, it becomes a real burden for everyone because everyone is gonna get involved trying to find the file. Well, to prevent all this, if we kind of, follow the policies of the organization and we file these documents when it is time, when, regularly, then we wouldn't be going through all these issues. So that's basically what it is. So the most important thing is, use the OWL guide. If you don't use these OWL guidelines, then nothing good is gonna be done because right there we are lost. And it happens because people sometimes don't have no time to use all these supplies because we're not organized. Oh, they just need it now. The doctor just called me and I don't know where the OWL guy is. So then, oh, it's gonna take a few. Just the doctor asking me for this is an emergency. All right, need it right now. That's not an emergency. That's an emergency for you. This is not a life or death situation. It's just that the doctor just called you for the document or for the file, and then you need to bring it to them. But you do the due processing before you do that, because later on, when you're gonna try to place the chart back, even though if it is just what you're gonna do, you're gonna have a little problems trying to sort out through the files to place that chart that you have retrieved previously. And if that's not you, then the other person that is going to file this medical record is gonna have the same problem trying to figure it out where they're gonna place it. So that's basically what it is. So we have to definitely be organized and think about, teamwork all the time. Not that this is me, but probably someone else that has to file. What if it is me that have to file? Well, you have to be empathetic as well. Ask if someone inadvertently pick up the file with other materials. Well, again, this is common sense. If something is missing, you're gonna do whatever it takes to find it. So you're gonna look everywhere, even though the bathroom. You're gonna be surprised. I remember once I went to the bathroom, and this is, the staff bathroom, and I found medical records in the bathroom. Well, the medical doctor went over there, so on his way to the front desk, I assume so. Have the medical record with them, decide to go to the bathroom first before bringing the chart to the front, and they left it over there. I went to the restroom, and here it is. I found the chart. And I knew who was using the medical records. And when I returned it back to them, not to the office, and I said, listen, you left the medical records right there in the bathroom. Oh my God. I just want to make sure, that, they realize what they have done. Not to bring it to the medical assistant without not knowing what was going on. No, this is for the person to learn a lesson. So you were in the bathroom, you left this medical record because, see, this is you signed this document, or you're the only one here today with me. So again, it is very good idea to show him, to show people when they make a mistake in a very professional way, just make sure, because if you kind of cover it up and you just bring the chart and don't say anything, well, this person probably is going to forget that they have the chart with them and left it in the bathroom. What if somebody else goes to the bathroom and read the medical record? Remember, sometimes patients, when they see the staff bathroom that they have access to, they go inside. We have, these bathrooms get locked after we leave because this is just for staff members. Patients get away with stuff. Sometimes they have access, I don't know how, but they get it. And if they see the medical records, believe me, they're going to open it up, even though if it doesn't belong to them, because we are very curious, not to say anything else. So basically, that's what it is. We have to kind of, turn the house down, looking for files. So that's not good. So we're going to do the right thing. Okay. So file may be considered lost if not found within 24 to 48 hours. May be considered, not that is 100%. It might appear. So again, can you imagine after 24 hours looking for the file and you do not find it? Well, definitely, we become really very negative. We say, oh, it's lost. But it's kind of, because after all these, search, it's still nothing. So not good. And as I mentioned before, the loss of the file can have potential devastating consequences. Remember, this is a legal document. This is the information of the patient that we have there. How are we going to continue the care of our patients if we don't have the history of our patient? What makes you think that me as a doctor, I'm going to remember every single patient medication conditions for a period of not even 6 months prior? At all. I don't recall anyone. Because when I'm at work, I focus on my patients' conditions. But that's what I have the medical record right there. When they come in, then I scan it, I read it, I move on with whatever situation the patient is there for, which is called the CHIP complaint, remember. So the reason for the patient visiting the office, the CHIP complaint. So I'm worried about that. I see what the patient had previously done, what we have done, what the patient is taking. Now I'm familiar with my patient. Now I can address his or her problem today. But now I don't have the information. What are we going to do? Are we going to tell the patient, oh, well, we lost your file? Oh, you know what? We're going to start doing. Do you remember 10 years ago? What were you doing? Do you have any surgical procedure? When it was? Where it was? What was about it? What medications you were taking 10 years ago? Patients don't even know what medications they are taking today. Much less they're going to know what we were taking a month ago, 6 months ago, years ago. It's going to be impossible. So it's going to be serious consequences for the office, for the patient. I'm telling you. So you have to create a new file if that happens. But that file is not going to be complete. How are we going to get all these patients' information for the period of time that the patient has been visiting us? It's going to be impossible. So again, it's just going to be a problem. And we cannot have duplicates. You cannot have a copy of every single medical records. Paper wise speaking, there is no way. There is no way. Versus electronic, a lot easier. See? We are just discussing things about electronic versus, advantage and disadvantage of, having electronic versus paper-based medical records. Any questions about misplacing a file or just the process of filing documents within the medical chart or medical records? Good. Classification of records. This is important. Very important. Very important. It's going to be in your exam, my exam, your national certification exam. Records are classified as active, inactive, and closed. Now, again, we need to know times, like time frames in which these medical records, particularly for inactive and closed files. So active files are those files or the patients that we are currently treating. They are coming to our office regularly, yearly. So that's basically what it is. Now, this varies from office to office, but we have kind of some standardized regulations. So for active, no problem, because who is active? Whoever is, coming in regular basis to our office. Now, when a file becomes inactive, well, the patient stop coming to our office for a period in between 2 to 3, less than 3 years. Let's put it that way. It's been 6 months, we haven't seen the patient. 1 year, we probably contacted the patient didn't return. 2 years, nowhere to be found. So after that, we can call an inactive file. So we're not just going to call an inactive file, but we're going to remove this file from the active patients. So let's say that we have all these shelves, these cabinets with all these patients that we currently see. So we're going to do something that is called purging. I have the term in the next slides, but this is called purging. Purging is the action of removing files from the active or from the inactive. So if you haven't been active, you have been shown up, you haven't received services from me for a period of 2-3 years, is less than 3 years, then your file is going to be inactive. We're going to remove your file from those shelves, those cabinets, and we're going to store it somewhere else. We don't want all these files right there when we are not using it. We don't need it. Why are we going to have something in the middle of my active patients when I don't need them? Because they stop showing up to my office. So that will be inactive files. So what's a closed file? A closed file is a file, a medical record that we no longer using. So let's go back to inactive. 2 years later, the patient shows up. When the patient shows up and says, I'm going to see the doctor. You don't know that the patient is being inactive. You don't. Probably you're new. Probably you're not working there, so you don't know. So the first thing that we're going to ask to the patient is, I have not seen you before, so I don't know who you are. If you've been seeing this patient regularly, you kind of have recollection of these people. But when you have stopped seeing them for a while, oh, you're new there, so you don't know anyone. For you, everybody's a new patient. So you gotta ask when the patient comes in, oh, I need to see the doctor. Sure, good morning. My name is Alberto. I'm the medical assistant. What is the reason of the visit? Oh, I have this issue, no matter how it is. What's your name, please? And then they tell you your name and says, Mr. and Mrs. Brown. Are you a new patient? No, I'm not. I'm being seen here for a while. Okay. One of the other things that you're gonna ask, then I said, okay, can I have your insurance, please? Remember, you're always gonna have ask for insurance, regardless. Then you're gonna look for the file because you don't know. And you don't find the file because this file has been removed already because it took more than 2 years, less than 3 years, that you didn't come to see us. So this file was inactive, so was removed from the active shelves. It was put in the inactive files. Now you're gonna go back to the patient because you notice that the chart is not there. You assume that it's inactive, but you're still not going there look as crazy. You're gonna ask the patient, Do you remember Miss Brown? When was the last time that you came to the office? Oh, well, like a couple of years. They're always gonna say, oh, that was like a year, a couple of years. And it was like 10 years ago. So do you recall the last time that you were here? So it says, oh, like a couple of years. Now you have an idea. Then you're gonna look for the inactive. Why? Because if it is more than 3 years, these medical records is already closed. Already closed means we're not gonna retrieve the medical record to see the patient again. We have to create another medical record. The patient has to register again as a new patient. So that's how it works. If it is inactive, we can use the same medical record, but we are going to start with a complete physical exam because we haven't seen you for quite some time. But a closed file, which is patients who have died, move away, or otherwise discontinue treatment with us. But that is, so when somebody died, I don't have to check time. Somebody move, but we don't know. Because sometimes, patients die, patients move away from the town, from the office, and we don't have this information. So how do you know? Well, sometimes you don't and you won't. It's just that you haven't shown up. So I assume something happens to you, you're not here, your file is closed. So it is considered closed when you have not shown up to the office for any reason after 3 years. So that's something that you need to understand. Because this will be the type of question that you will be asked in an exam. What is an active file? Oh, someone who's currently being seen by the doctor or regularly being seen by the doctor. What is an active file? A patient who hasn't shown up to the office for the last 2 years, less than 3 years. What is a closed file? A patient who has not shown up to the office, has not received treatment for more than 3 years. They're not going to give you an example like, okay, somebody who dies, what is the file is going to be closed? Somebody who moves out. That is not the type of questions. It is, what is a closed file? Patient has not shown up for the past 3 years. 3 years, we haven't seen you. It's closed. We're going to close. And that file is going to go somewhere else because it's closed already. We're not going to go and open that. The inactive, yes. So if you don't find in the active files, we're going to look for the inactive and we can bring back to life. But if it goes beyond 3 years, no. But we're going to put it in separate files where it says inactive. We're going to store them in a different place. We're not going to have them where the active files are. So that's something that you need to understand. Because whenever you're looking for a file, see, don't assume that every single patient that comes to your office has been there before. That's what I told you, and I went about how you find out whether this patient is a new patient, is an established patient, is someone who has not shown up for quite some time, because you need to know. You're not going to go crazy trying to look for a medical records. It says, oh, I don't see you. Excuse me, miss. I don't find your medical records. Are you sure that you've been seeing here? I'm going to be insulted if you tell me something like that. So that's not how we talk to the patients, remember. The due diligence is that you're going to ask the pertaining questions to the patient. You're going to ask the patient, okay, Mr., Mrs. Brown, when was the last time that you were here? Because, to be honest with you, I don't find your medical records. I don't find your files. Because if you've been out from this clinic for more than 2 years or 3 years, probably your files are closed and we might have to start a new record. So you have to register again. Then they kind of, eureka moment or hack moment and say, hey, I'm going to tell you now. Well, by the way, yeah, it's been like 3 years or 4. See, that's how you get the information. But you're going to do it in a very professional way. Because this patient is going to say that you were disrespectful. And actually, you were. If you ask the patient, well, I'm looking for the files, but I don't find it. Are you sure that are you sure of thing that is not acceptable? That we do it with people that we know, with our friends, things like that. Are you sure? Are you telling me the truth? Doesn't sound like, no, this type of, conversations or assuming things, assumptions, if you will, do not apply in the medical. So we need to use other type of, approaching, so process to find out how it is. Because you're not gonna go like crazy once again looking for a file. Any patient is not been there for quite some time. So that's how we know. As soon as you don't find it there in the active file, you know that this patient has been more than 2 years, less than 3 years, probably more, and that's the reason why I don't find it. So don't go crazy. Go talk to someone else in the office. Ask them, oh, I have a patient right here. She said, or he said that they've been here like a couple of years ago. Those files, where should I find those files? If we have them here. So that's how you get familiar with everything before you go and tell the patient that you're not finding anything and that you're not trusting what they tell you, because that's exactly what he's telling you. Any questions about active, inactive, closed files? So let's talk about inactive and closed files. Now, once again, this can be paper-based, computer storage, either or. Now, we have many ways of storing these records. The paper records, if they are inactive, remember they're going to be removed from the active shelves, cabinets. We're going to put it in a separate room. And it says there, it's got to read inactive, has to be labeled there. And they're going to be filed by year. So whenever the patient, and of course, whatever whatever coding system that you're using, that's what you're going to follow. The same, it's like it is inactive, but we're going to follow the same process of filing in the inactive and the close, just in case something happens. So that's basically what it is. So it doesn't matter how you store it, these are going to be put aside and it's going to be named inactive and close. If something happens, we know where the information is at. We cannot place inactive and close together, because the next step after close is that you have to follow the statute of limitation, which is we're going to destroy these medical records that went over certain period of time, depends on your state regulations, which we're going to discuss later on. So that's basically how it's done. So we have to follow every single thing. Now, you don't know where the inactive files are going to be stored. You don't know where the closed files are going to be stored. You don't even know if this doctor is doing that, if they have all these medical records right there on the shelves from 100 years ago. You do not know. And because you do not know, you just talk to the people that is working with it. And when you open the medical file, see when was the last time that the patient was seen. If the patient was seen for more, was not seen for more than 3 years, you do not use that medical record. Immediately, you're going to talk to the doctor, you're going to talk to the office manager, you're going to talk to the supervisor, and you're going to tell them what is the policy over there for patients who have not been there for this period, because that medical record is supposed to be closed. But they didn't remove from the shelves. All the medical records, I'm being in those places. That's what I'm telling you. They have medical records from the day that they opened the office. And the doctor now is 80 years old. So for how long do you think this medical records been there? For how long do you think that all these medical records from people that have died has been there, that have moved has been there, that no longer we see for many years have been there? They're there as they were active. So if you find the medical record after the patient shows up, no problem. Read what was the last day that the patient was seen and make your calculations. Oh, November 2020. This is already closed. I cannot add information in that medical records. You cannot. Patient has to start a new record, starts all over again. But then that old medical record, we're gonna add it. It's like medical records from other offices. We're gonna attach it together, not put it inside the same file. We're gonna put the rubber band and we're gonna put it together because we're gonna consult that medical record because we used to use that one or somebody else's. And we're gonna use it as a reference. So that's how it works. It has to be placed alongside. That's basically what it is, not placed inside, but together. That's how it works. So even though if you find the medical record over there, you have to read. Okay, so what is the reason you're gonna see the doctor? Oh, for this and that, and you start recording things over there. The doctor is gonna tell you, why did you document things over there? This patient hasn't been seen for all this time. This patient is considered new patient now. See, that brings me back to what is considered a new patient. So new patient is someone who's being currently seen all this time. That's a new patient. Now, that's an established patient. I'm sorry, my bad. New patient is someone who just joined the practice. Now, this patient whose medical record being closed and returns 3 years later, that's going to be called a new patient. So there are two types of new patient. The one that have never been seen before is the first time that this patient registered in my office and I'm going to be seen, or it is in my office. And the one that they were seen, but they stopped coming to the office for more than 3 years. So now we close the medical records. Now they start brand new. So that's how it is. Think about your certification from this school. This is going to help you to understand better. Think about this. You're taking this course, right? You receive a certificate of completion when you finish this course. If you pass all these lectures, all the practicals, you pass your internship, you're going to get a certificate of completion from the school. Good. It turns out that 1 year passed by, 2 years passed by, 3 years passed by, and you never get the national certified. So if you let some time run off, so you're gonna have like an expiration date. It's not like the certificates of completion is gonna expire, it never expires. But what expires the time that you have from the day that you finish your classes and you didn't take the national exam. Now, the national exam is not gonna allow you to have the exam. These are some regulations. After a certain time, they're gonna say, okay, which school you, oh, but that was too long ago. Things have changed since then, so you have to take the course again. So that's like a patient. You have to do it all over again. This is similar like with patients. You stop coming here for 3 years. These files are closed. Now you're gonna start as a new patient. And you have to do all the procedures as this patient were a new patient. That is it. That's how it works. And in medicine, we're not going to change that because that's the way it is. What happened during all these 3 years? I have not seen you. I don't know what your medical conditions are. So I have to start from scratch again. I'm going to use your reference, your medical record, prior medical record, to see all the things that we've done in the past. But during this period, I don't know what was going on with you, and I need to protect myself. What if you come with something that is very serious and I just admit you today, or I accept you and I put you following the prior medical records that I have from you, using the old medical records, and it turns out that tomorrow you're gonna end up in emergency, probably you're gonna die, something, they're gonna blame me. They're gonna accuse me for abandonment. So you didn't care about the patient for 3-5 years. Now he came back or she came back because you're not following the proper regulations. So that's what it is. You have to protect ourselves. Remember, lawsuits of the time. So we need to make sure that we know what to do. Now, for the file storage for these paper medical records, when we have paper medical records that are closed, usually we remove them from our office. Sometimes, if we don't have a large office, as most of the offices are not, they don't have enough space. So what are they gonna do with all these files, all these boxes, or these, closed files? And you cannot destroy them because you have to, follow the statute of limitation, 7 to 10 years after the last time that we saw the patient, but it's been 3, 4. How am I gonna destroy it? You cannot do that. So then they can rent a place, a storage place, somewhere else. You take it somewhere else. You can take it to the basement of your home. I don't know. Those you can take it now because they are closed. Inactive, you cannot leave the premises. You have to keep it there. Active and inactive should be in the office, but in different places. But the closed ones, you can take it anywhere in a safe place. So that's basically what it is. If you don't have space in your small offices, because offices usually are very expensive, and if you don't have much storage, you rent a storage away from the office. So that's basically what it is. But it has to be a place that these medical records are going to be safe from damage, water, or fire, or something like that. They have to be safe. You just can't throw them somewhere. Because these medical records, just in case there is a case when the family sued the medical doctor after the patient has no longer been over here, it's not that they want to win the case. I just want to tell you something. They ask for these medical records, and if they have not met the statute of limitation, there are 7 to 10 years after the patient last visit, and you destroy them or you get rid of them, or they were damaged, wherever you place them, how are you going to bring this to the court of law to prove that you have nothing to do with the health of the patient because the patient died after you no longer have them, but you don't have the medical record? So many things can happen. That's why we have to meet all the requirements to make sure that we do follow this, that we have all these regulations, that we follow these regulations. Because if we don't do that, we might be in trouble. Inactive and closed files must remain safe and secure. I already told you that. We might need to retrieve those medical records for some reason. Evaluate storage sites carefully. That is for the safety of those medical records. Once again, you can't just throw things down in the basement and the basement has a leak, has a flow problems, and then or rodents, or they're going to destroy them. No, they have to be safe just in case, at least for the time of the 7-10 years. After 10 years, nobody's going to claim them. If they do say no, then already passed by the statute of limitation. So again, and it says right there, see, preferably place files in fireproof and waterproof containers. Why? Because we don't protect them until they are ready to be destroyed 7-10 years later. So that's basically what it is. And I already mentioned this storage site should be safe from fire, flows, vandalism, theft, streams, temperatures, who knows, many things that can happen that can destroy those files. Remember, we cannot destroy those files or damage those files until the time that they need to be destroyed, 7 to 10 years after the last visit of the patient. So that's basically how it works. Any questions about storing medical records? Purging medical records. Remember, purging means, sorting them out, which ones are active, inactive, which ones are closed. Just because they are closed does not imply that they are ready to destroy. They are closed after 3 years, but can be destroyed 7 to 10 years later. Depends on state regulations. Retaining files in the office, see? Retention schedule. Now, this is very important because there are certain files that we need to retain for certain periods of time. We are not talking about the medical records. We're talking about these individual documents that we have. So we're going to follow state regulations. It's not the office regulation, it's the state regulations. So if because we are in New York, we're going to keep certain documents for certain periods of time. Whatever is content, the content for the medical records, certain files, individual files. When we talk about the medical record, it's 7 to 10 years. So don't mix that up. I'm not saying that, okay, the files can be saved, kept for 2 years, because we're going to talk about that. For 2 years, for 3 years, for 5 years. That's not what I'm talking about. Medical records, these are retention schedule for files, meaning individual papers. Okay, so we have vaccinations for children. For how long do I need to have the records of vaccinations for a child? This is not the same for how long I have to keep the medical record from the child. That's totally different. That's not what I was talking about. Each individual document inside the medical records, some of them have particular retention schedules, and we're going to mention some of them. So if we lose them, we destroy them, whatever, nothing is going to happen because they have some, let's call it an expiration date. So again, very important. So it says right here, certain records have legal criteria for length. They must be maintained in the office, such as immunization, employees' health records, see, medical office financial records. So these are kind of independent things. See, whenever I was working in the hospital, I have a medical record from the hospital. Not my personal medical record. This is my employee medical record, which is totally different. Because I was hired in this hospital, so they did some examinations, some physical exam on me. So all that information is going to be put right there in the medical. They asked me to bring my vaccinations records. I have them. I have a lot of stuff with me. So I provided to them so they don't have to repeat things or they don't have to give me medication that I don't need. So whatever I had from my childhood, remember that was a long time ago. I was 25 years old at that time. So I have a lot of stuff because, I always keep my medical information with me, whatever is necessary that I brought from my country, I brought it here. So I knew that these vaccinations, particularly because I didn't have any other medical condition, thank God, and I don't have it now. So at that time, wow, I didn't have anything. Just, I didn't need to bring records from any surgical procedures, medical condition, medication because I was taking nothing. But I have my shots, my vaccination. So I brought my vaccination card and I gave it to them. And I told them some of the things that they were done with there, that they didn't ask here. So that's basically what it is. So these immunizations, if we get rid of this immunization card, not a problem. We don't have to keep it all the time. Employee health records, that is different from your personal medical records. Not talking about that, remember. Because besides having my employee medical records, whenever I was in the hospital, I was seen by the doctors, but I kept a separate medical records outside because that was only for situations within the hospital. Every 6 months, I have to get the TB test. It was going there. I brought copies to my medical doctor as well on the outside because I have my regular doctor following, well, annually my physical exam. Medical office financial records, that's separate. See, the medical office financial records are not in the medical records. Employees' records are not the patient records. So see, there is different, there are big differences right here. So the IRS is the one who's gonna determine your financial records, see? Again, we have to follow the IRS, the AMA, the American Medical Hospital Association, the HIPAA law, remember the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act for patients' privacy, confidentiality, and security, and the federal and state law, whatever federal and state laws requires you to do. Remember, we're always gonna follow the law. Now, for employees' records, nobody's going to ask you that. Immunization, nobody's going to ask you that. Medical office, there is no point. We are going to learn how long our medical records, the patient medical records, should be kept before destroyed, before we're going to get rid of them. That's a different issue. So here is the word that I was talking before we finish. You see, purging. This process is called purging. What is it? Transfer records. You follow the office procedures, and now you're gonna make sure that you sort out these medical records from active, inactive, and closed. So that's basically what it is. And transfer means that we're gonna remove them from the active files. Why? Because we need to keep control. We need to keep all these files organized. Can you imagine we have 1,000 medical records right there, but out of those 1,000, only 300 people come in. It is active. Where am I gonna have all these? What if I misplace a medical record? I have to go through these thousands of medical records. No, I don't need that. So I'm going to remove inactive right here, close right here. That's what we're gonna do. And now we're gonna be safe. Now we have more room, only the active ones are gonna be there. So I don't have to be all that crowded shelves or cabinet. And whenever I look for something, it's something that I know for a fact, 100%, that this is an active patient. And if I don't find the chart right there, I know this patient, whether it's inactive or closed. So that's it. See, that facilitates the way our office works. This is like having appointments for the patient versus the patient walking in. If they have appointment, we know we have these patients, we already scheduled them for this particular time, we're gonna be seeing them versus people who just come in and out whenever they please. It's very difficult to control that. Well, it will be very difficult to control inactive and closed files if all of them are mixed together. So we don't want that. So that's basically what it is. And once again, whenever we remove or whenever we purge these particular files, we have to place it in the same chronological order as we did when the charts were active. Just the same fashion, in boxes, in cabinet, whatever we're going to store them. So whenever we're going to look for, we're going to look in the same way and we're going to find them, not just throwing them anywhere, anyhow. Not good, right? So that's how it works. Okay, so we're gonna leave it here. Any questions? Anything about, management of medical records that we have covered up to now? Don't be shy. Okay, so then that is it. We're done Once again, for those who took the prior module, I'm going to be sending you the exam later on because I have some issues with. Then I'm going to be kind of fixing up some questions that I have others, but I cover other things that I'm not covering with you. So not every single exam is the same. Not every single school teaches the same. So even though if it is medical records, and I try to teach most of the things that are important for you, whether to do on your job or to do for your exam. But there are some information that, tests were done differently because some of the schools requires you, they give you the exam versus the exam that I made myself based on what I teach. So I have most of the exams from colleges where they give me the exam that I have to give to the students versus something that I do. So I'm selecting the questions of the things that I taught to you and, be fair with the sum. That's basically it. Okay, so thank you so much for attending the class. Guys, enjoy the weekend. Remember, you're going to have, for those who have to take the test, for the new students for this module, you don't have to. But for the ones that already took the prior module, they're going to have a test. So I will be sending it to you, and it's due on Sunday. So again, the email is going to read all that information. You're going to have plenty of time. It's going to be maybe 30, 35 questions, no more. And that is it. Good night, everyone. Nice weekend. Stay safe. Don't drink and drive. I want to have you all back next Monday, not just one. Okay. I don't want to miss any one of my students. Take care. Good night. Take care.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night.